Hi, and welcome to Twin Flames Between Worlds podcast. My name is Tabitha.
And I'm Liesl.
Hi, and welcome to our final episode of Season 2 of A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas. Yay! So, we have with us today, returning as triumphant as before, both of our moms. Hello.
Welcome back.
Yes, Mary and Jenny. So, how's it been since last time?
Busy.
Yeah,
busy.
Busy? Busy reading. No, I said. Yeah, so again, like we did with Dad, we'll be going through, since there's like 4 of us talking, we'll try to, again, if you want to see more of our in-depth conversation about it, please go to our other episodes, but we're going to try to get through the themes, kind of bare bones, but also still going into the important stuff. So let's just get started.
Let's do it. Sounds good.
So basically, at least my first thing is I just wanted to ask about just the whole beginning, because there's this transition from before of this status quo changing, right? We go from this like dystopian, things are going wrong, and then all of a sudden, start of Akamath is throwing up, trauma, a change in dynamic of even just the court itself. Because before, there was no one at the court, and now there's a bunch of court politics going on that, like, I don't think she really realized was going to happen.
No, she's only been Fae for a little bit here.
Mm-hmm. I'm born too.
Yeah. So, what did we think? Like, first thoughts on the beginning?
Gosh, I started reading the book, I think in January, but then I paused for a really long time, so I think beginning. Yeah, she seemed really bored, and she just wanted to be left alone.
Mm-hmm.
But I did like parts where she's starting to see how she's different as a Fae, not just how she looks, longer fingers and everything, the strength, speed, and stuff she has. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, she's definitely not a party plant. She hated that and all the fancy dresses. And
she was never like that, even when she's back.
It was progressively getting worse because they wanted her to do more and more things, but she lost her will to paint. She kind of lost herself after coming back from under the mountain.
Question, do you think they have depression?
Oh, 100%.
PTSD.
100%.
But
they don't treat her like she has
it feels
depression.
like Tamlin's never seen depression.
She's clearly depressed and traumatized.
I feel like that's more of a spring court thing, though, because the night court, they know about trauma, but they don't it's never psychological diagnosis. It's more just, we know, so we'll be more cognitive about it.
The Supreme Court is perfect. They don't get depressed. They don't have trauma.
So of course, the only thing I wanted to say about the beginning was I liked how she wrote about trauma, because I don't think I'd ever read a book before that kind of went into it as deeply and as thoroughly as she did, and that will still continue on.
Yeah,
it's not often we see a character that has depression, who is completely depressed.
Although I will say in Hunger Games, I think
true.
Think after Katniss's trauma and they were,
that's
true.
Yeah.
Actually, but
True.
A lot of fantasy books, though, we
Yeah.
don't see it.
Yeah, pure, not dystopian.
Yeah.
I think purely in a fantasy, because they want to make it seem all pretty.
Yeah.
Versus,
and
which it's not.
here, just have some jewels and throw some parties and wear some fancy dresses, and we won't talk to you about anything that happened to you under the mountain, and you're gonna just fine.
It's like what worked for him did not work for her, but it didn't work for him either. It didn't work for him.
And they didn't want to change anything about
What did you think about the wedding, though? Wedding was the most iconic scene in that beginning, though.
Yeah.
Have to bring that up. Where he comes in. He's like,
Yeah.
hello, Feyre, darling. I'm back, bitch.
I was wondering when I read it, it's like, okay, is she actually going to do this?
Yeah.
Because as she's walking down the aisle, she gets right, he's holding out his hand to her, and she's just standing there, and it's like,
I am in the background. Come, bride. It's like, bitch.
yeah, it's like,
a good
is
bride.
she actually going to go? Or is she going to, she said I think it said she started step away. It's like, was she really going to keep moving forward? Or was she just going to say no?
Yeah.
And then here he pops up, and it was like,
making an entrance.
Yay, somebody came,
Somebody came. There was 300 people there.
It's like,
Someone heard her.
yeah, well, someone actually, that's the one thing I like about Reese, is that he noticed right away, she lost weight, she looked terrible, and nobody was helping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he's like, she's saying no, somebody come help me. Ta-da!
here I am.
Here I am.
Any thoughts on the wedding?
Yeah.
Or just...
Well, it seemed like it wasn't like until that moment where she's going, no, somebody stop this. Like until that moment, she just seemed kind of just disinterested. Like she didn't really seem like she was cold feet or like wondering like this, do I really want to marry Tamlin or anything like that. She just seemed disinterested until that moment of the moment. And then she's like, no, stop.
Right.
Which, I don't know. But yeah, so then Rhys arrives and decides to call in his bargain. What do you think about the fact that he waited 3 months before calling in that bargain?
I think I kind of forgot about it.
Yeah.
I think that was the point.
Yeah.
I will say. Sorry.
Yeah, I didn't really think about it. I wasn't like, oh, is this thing still going to happen? It's all just like recovery and sort of trying to get back to some kind of normal business. And like maybe because she was turned or whatever, that maybe the bargain did still apply. Although I think she did notice like tattoo was still there.
Yeah, at the end of the book, yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. I didn't really thought about it. But also, I read that part of the book several months ago, so
yeah.
Well, I think the important part was that they made it seem like that was something that had to happen or else consequences would have, not more of a, maybe.
But then I feel like because they didn't specify when it started necessarily.
Well, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, but it wasn't like she showed up at a place every month. He like met her there. Like, he always kinged her and said, now is the time. So like everybody's going to be like, well, if he doesn't ask, I'm not going to say anything.
Before you give your insight, my answer was when I first read this was because that Under the Mountain, he like did it every day. So there was like a level of, for those 3 months, it was like kind of clockwork that it was like, that was, I'll give you 3 months time. Because that was what I thought at first, because it was like the same timeline. But
yeah, I mean, I kind of in a way did forget that, they did make that. But then it was like, it's like, okay, so when he showed up, then it was like, I kind of forgotten about it. Here he is, or was he? I don't know.
It was an enigma. I wanted to see.
Like, he was trying to give her time to heal, but when she started, saying somebody come help me, he's like, he had to come and do something for her.
Well, and of course, finding out later what all that meant anyway.
Yeah.
Right.
But so what did we think of like going to the night court for the first time and like that first week in the night court?
That was cool. I like that. I like what do they call them? The twins. That helped her.
Nuala and Caradwyn?
Yes, I love them.
The Wraiths.
They're sweethearts.
Yes. And I like the fact, too, that didn't try to push too much on her all at one time. He was just kind of like letting her basically do kind of what she wanted.
And also the first time, it was kind of like the way it was before, where she never knew whether he was going to like talk to her or whether it'd be a week where nothing happens.
Right.
Like she's still like, I don't know what's going on.
I think the best part, and like me analyzing it, reading it this time when doing the thoughts, it was a level of, oh my gosh, this is also like Sarah being, look at where Spring is. She's getting paraded around. There's a bunch of people all around now to no guards, no nothing. She's in this very vast, where only the Wraiths are, and we don't really ever see that.
And also, just in general, the Moonstone Palace is very open.
It's open. Yeah. It was the scenery, the explanation, and it was like, it was like she was just setting it up for us before like it got to that, because it's like, why do I like coming back here?
I thought it was interesting how she gets dressed in spring perfection when
Alice.
Yeah, and just and Yanthe.
Oh, Ianthe. That's okay.
I think I said it the same way too.
I didn't see it right then. But then she's still dressed in the night court, but with a completely different style.
Yeah.
It's like pajamas. It's like the stuff that Amryn wore every day. But half and half day.
What did we think of meeting Morrigan?
She's a sister.
I love her. She's one of my, besides, obviously the main character. She's one of my favorite other characters. I just like her.
I think they're all main somehow.
They're basically main.
And I just like how they sass. I love that.
Yeah.
Like they don't care who he is. To him, he's, he's not the High Lord. He's just
their friend.
Rhys. There's no formality. That's what I like.
That also was another tip to Tamlin, because everybody had to address him as
they don't do that.
High Lord. Even Lucian.
Yeah, fit in.
Right, yeah. Lucian's always like Kelly's holding his own all the time.
Trading. Okay. Anyway.
But also with Morrigan, Farrah she wasn't sure whether to trust her. She's like this woman's clearly a badass. But should I be afraid of her, or not afraid, but she was wary.
Well, because from what she heard before, the Night Court was full of ruthless killers. Then this bright person shows up and she's just she plops herself down. We find this the most hilarious thing. She's just like, you don't want to be here at all, do you?
Well, she kills a muffin. Only thing she kills is a muffin.
Yeah.
all of them somehow are the sweetest, kindest people, but at the same time, just like, they're bliss. Yeah. It's like to the right people, they're kind. Yeah. But anyway.
So she's back in the spring court again. What did we think of like the tide and the water rate?
That was yikes.
Yeah, that whole thing was just weird. I mean, I guess it's like taxes, you got to pay your taxes once a year or whatever. Mm-hmm. But it just seemed odd, actually. I mean, I realized I hadn't had to do it for a while, but it was only, 3 months? 4 or 5?
It was 3. Mm-hmm.
After the Under the Mountain, and it was like...
order.
The timing just, to me, didn't seem right. And then if someone couldn't pay it, what do you expect? Half of their stuff had been destroyed. Yeah. Or they weren't there. They were held captive. Mm-hmm. How are they going to pay?
Yeah. We found out later about like how horrendous Under the Mountain was, not just for the people the people who were in the throne room at the time had it best. Yeah. The other people that were like in the slave encampments, like deep under it, were those people that he made
into cannibals.
Yeah, the people that turned cannibal. Yeah. That's wild.
They didn't have any food, so they ate each other, and now you're expecting them to give you food?
Yeah, what was that?
When they don't need it.
Or jewels or whatever. It's like, why do they need to do that right now?
Yeah. I don't know. What I was going to say is that I thought it was first miserable and how poorly Hero was sleeping and like how terrible she was feeling, that she paid any attention to what was going on at all. Like, I would just be like, I'm like, if you want me to be here, I'm not going to be a pretty face. Yeah. Like, I'm just going to I'll sleep in the chair or whatever. Like, be
literally the chair.
Inappropriate in that way. And then be like, no, you don't have to come. It's like, be like that. Just stay in your room.
Yeah. He wanted to formally treat her as future lady of the court,
but putting her in a lawn chair.
Yeah, that was the most wild thing when I read this time, analyzing it. The wooden chair that she had to sit in for the entire, he had the big, I'm gonna take up space throne. Yeah. It's just I ain't getting no fucking lawn chair.
That whole thing was...
I think the last thing I'll say about it is what made me the most mad about that was him lying about later that was something that had to happen when Reese doesn't even do a tithe. He made it seem like you had to do it. Yeah. And it was that false narrative that he puts in there. It's like, well, I have no choice. It's like, actually, you're the king of your territory. You do have one. Mm-hmm. Okay.
I mean, also, it's kind of simplistic, but it obviously draws a contrast to the Night Court, where Tamlin's clearly not a leader of the people. He's he doesn't care about them. He just it's not even clear what he cares about at all, really.
If he cares about anything.
Right? It'd be one thing if he was conquering or something. At least you could sort of understand that. What the hell's he even doing?
Maybe he doesn't even know.
Yeah.
He doesn't. He doesn't. He does not.
So what do we think about what do we think about her giving jewels to the water wraith and then following argument with Tamlin
when he busted the fucking study on her?
Yeah, the big blow up.
Yeah. That's it. Abuse.
They sighed at the same time.
They did.
But it's he doesn't understand what it's really like to be hungry and not have anything. And then Feyre does. So of course she's going to give, someone that can't a shit that she really doesn't care about all them. She doesn't care about that stuff. She doesn't want it anyway.
They have throws of it.
It's and he was just you're a peasant,
Yeah.
Ugh, that whole...
I mean, it was true to her character. I don't get this.
Mm-hmm. It's good that even as she turned Fae, she was there.
You brought it up, I think, when we talked about it, that it was a level of, it's whenever we see Feyre actually sticking up for something, that it immediately gets shut down. That it was that theme constantly.
He tries to build her up of hey, it's okay, we're working through this, and then anytime she tries to speak up, he's, nope, never mind, you're not doing that.
It's but you don't know. You don't know what I...
Right, and she asks
then teach me.
Even in the first book, I want to do something. Tell me what you're doing. Why are you doing it?
She wants to learn.
Don't make me just sit here. And he thinks that just giving her paints. It's run along, man talk.
It's like that one meme that I found of, you want freedom? You want out of this house? Best I can do is a painting studio.
Yeah.
But then the blow up, I was clearly.
Mm-hmm. Something is.
He's just a toxic dude.
He has anger issues.
100%.
We saw a little bit of Feyre's powers first time there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Which, it was cool.
It was pretty good.
But also his, he lost his shit.
That's true. Showing his power.
I hate how he made it. This is retroactive. In the moment, I was it was kind of me and my mom had the same exact, and I feel most people do. We're even giving him excuses, right?
Yeah.
When we go through it the first time.
I was still hanging on.
And so.
Still Team Tamlin. Tamlin all the way.
But then it gets, and then thinking about it retroactively, oh, no, he was saying, well, I don't have control of my powers. It's just, whoa.
Yeah.
So but that was you before. Like, this isn't, he's like using it to excuse.
Yeah, and he's like
Yeah.
letting himself be excused that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But then speaking of powers, moving on to the next blow up, like Liesl,
The main one.
where she gets locked inside the house.
That was a big deal. Just the like, oh, she's like, I can't be here anymore. You're like, I'm suffocating, I'm dying, killing me, and like I really related to that. I'm just empathizing with it so much. Of like, I can't even make words about it. It's so destructive to me.
Yeah.
I think Sarah did and I told Tabby this, like when we did our book talk and when we recorded the episode, the way that Sarah wrote that breakdown and with all the darkness clouding in and can't hear anyone, you think someone's screaming, you don't know if that's someone else or you.
You.
That perfectly describes panic attacks, and I think that was really well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Your thoughts?
Well, that's when I was off Tamlin. I mean, I'm being dead serious. I was team Tamlin right up until then, and as soon as he locked her in the house, I could make excuses. Yeah, he went through a lot. She went through a lot. Things are different, but then when he did that, it was like,
But someone's compromising and the other one isn't.
yeah.
Right.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
Because it's like she's making all the sacrifice to satisfy his need, but there is no him doing that for her.
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
Right.
Or it like, isn't a half-assed attempt to. Or it'd be a thing where he'd try for like a couple days, but then something
That
else
1
would
week
happen
attempt.
and then it'd go back again.
Yeah.
It was I told her it was something my manager said, and I think as two women yourselves, you'd understand this. It's the level of, I mean, in a kind of in a crass sense, it's the whole idea of an abusive relationship
Oh,
where
yeah.
it's like,
Yeah.
well, no, yes, it is an abusive, but the example I mean is like when he punches you, but then gives you an ice pack.
Yeah.
You feel the manipulation of the ice pack is like, oh, well, it almost like negates the first step somehow for some people,
Yeah.
where it's like, it's that mental manipulation where it turns from a physical into a, so. Triggered all of us, I think.
I mean, I didn't even believe his love.
Yeah.
Like it really, he didn't get a sense that he cared about her and was doing, just going through his own problems. He just felt so distant. And she even said they stopped sleeping together. It just like seemed so interested.
They used a lot of sex to get away.
Yeah.
That too. Or the apologies.
Yeah, it's like apologize, fuck, and then ignore everything again, and then repeat.
Or I actually,
Even the fucking wasn't that good. I didn't even think like
No.
it was so
It wasn't even animalistic anymore. It was just
yeah, exactly.
and he kept ripping up those nightgowns. Damn it, I want one at least. I want to keep one. Though I did want to highlight though about what you said, is that something that I don't think most people noticed when the first time they read it, but he somehow was gone more in this book at the beginning than he was in the entire last book.
Oh yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
going off, and well, we know why he was going
Oh,
out.
now.
But like, to me, I was just like, okay, but you were in wartime. Technically, it was also the lying about the atmosphere, because she knew something was wrong, but kept gaslighting. No, babe, nothing's wrong. No, it's nothing. Like, why are you leaving constantly to go to the Western Front for? Do not gaslight me. I know what I'm seeing.
Right. And was this the whole time like where she wanted to start?
yes.
Mhm.
Lucian was so close.
Well, in bringing up that scene that she did, though, that was her power eating away at itself. That scene was also a panic attack, but because her powers weren't manifest or she didn't know how to control them, she was literally killing herself. She was suffocating herself.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
in darkness.
Yeah.
Oh, and I guess the fact that Reese shattered the wards without even like half a thought.
Oh,
Yeah.
And then
baby swooped
yeah,
in.
what do you think about like the by the book thing and then her saving like
More
sorry,
coming
her
in.
getting
Yeah.
saved? I just felt so like happy and safe though.
Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, you kind of get a sense that it just confirmed from the first, like, how powerful Reese
Yeah.
actually is.
Especially now that he has all his power back.
Right. And, like, I didn't even think about, like, his power back.
Mhm.
But, like, and that can be, like, I think in the first book, you kind of left questioning, is good power, bad power? Like, what's he going to do with that? And, of course, even at this point, it's not 100% clear, but you're like, whoa, rules do not apply to him.
Right. Mhm.
Sure.
And it also makes Tamlin.
Great.
Yeah, it's true. It's like in all aspects. I think that's what I like about Sarah, though, is like, that's what I was bringing up before about even just the atmosphere being described in the emotions. I like that. I dig that a lot, the
Mhm.
writing style. But so yeah, so we're finally in the night. Now we're not going back and forth anymore. I guess we already kind of answered the whole thing about like what the night court differs from spring already. But so what did you think of first meeting the Inner Circle? Cassian, Azrael, Morgan, Amber.
I liked it. That was, I mean, you could tell from just like the first time when you hear more in the background, what did she say? Well, that went well.
Yeah.
When he first dropped her off there and they were yelling. But I liked seeing how open and free they were with each other compared to the Supreme Court. But then I also like, how she's like, should I laugh? Should I not laugh?
Well, and also like when Cass and Azrael arrive and they're outside and you can hear them just
Open
being
up,
like
prick.
boys.
Yeah.
Like it was such a great entrance because she's just what?
Yeah.
What is going on?
Oh,
like,
she was already surprised by being in a townhouse, and then she just hears, "Open up, prick."
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's like a gang. It's just like this gang.
True.
And they have the like friendly ribbing
Mhm.
and just not putting on airs at all.
Yeah, like they didn't even dress up that first scene.
No.
And then she shows up and they're like, he's like, so fancy tonight, brother.
You made poor favorite dress up too.
Dress up too. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, more always dress up though. But that's just
And I also like that Reese didn't really like, let me tell you about my friends. Like, this one's a little rough. Like, you'll be fine. Like, didn't try to like soften it at all. He's just like, good to experience them how they are.
That was what that test was about. Like, in a nutshell, I want you, I'm not going to tell you anything.
Yeah.
You're going to decide yourself what you think of them and whether or not you want to be here.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole thing that like Liesl constantly brings up about choice for him but it's because, I mean, I think that's him inherently, but I also think he knows how important that is for him.
And also because he didn't have choice for 50 years.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Knocked on the head. Yeah. So I just love their first interview.
So far, like, what are your, like, out of the inner circle, what's your favorite?
Who's your favorite person?
character?
I mean, I think I like Cass best.
Yeah, I agree.
I like them all, but I think the one that sticks out the most, besides more, is Anne.
I knew you were going to say that.
Just because she's so tiny, but yet everyone is afraid of her.
And they should be, though. They should, like, it's
should be.
warranted.
You got these three big guys with wings, and they're
like,
all
out of the way, tiny Asian
powerful
one.
in their own right, muscular, all that stuff. And then you got her.
Little Amber.
Yeah, and everyone's like,
Everywhere they go.
Yeah.
As is all mine.
I like him too. I think he's one of the more interesting people out of the group with his shadows and just him. His broodiness.
He's such a mystery.
Yeah.
He's a shadow daddy.
Yeah.
Yes, I don't like the mysterious as much.
Oh, do you think
like
something's
just,
wrong
like,
with him?
I like people who put their cards on there.
Yeah.
Cass does do that.
Yeah, and it's like what you see is kind of what you have.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And he's kind of a soft brute, like he's muscle, but he's kind of like Little John and Robin Hood.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like trusty sidekick, pure of heart.
God, now I'm thinking of Reese as Robin Hood.
right?
What's so funny is they all intertwine in a way that you think not that would be. I mean, that's not weird to me. Like their whole dynamic resonated with me so much of like my friends and or my family in terms of just being able to like rip into each other, but like in a way that everybody on the outside would just be like, whoa, like because Amber just being like almost threatening to cut Cassian's dick off at every turn. For somebody,
your favorite part off, regardless of how small it is.
Yeah.
The ribbing, but at the same time, knowing they all know that it's funny, but anybody on the outside would see Amber and be like that and just be like, hey, I'm gonna back up slowly and
Yeah.
Oh, it is after that.
I think I relate to Amron because my family, I guess, apparently thinks I'm like,
no, you're not.
Go figure. I don't know. I'm just saying.
It's not that. Okay.
Apparently.
That's a discussion for another time.
Yeah, I intimidate people like her. I don't know.
Well, we're starting to get, like, now that she's in the night court, she has a bit more freedom and gets to explore a little bit more, or is dragged to scary places like prison. So, so what do we think about the bone? How he appeared, or like what?
The whole scene was cool.
Yeah, it was. What she gave to him in exchange for answers, that kind of stuff.
I feel like I have to read it again because it doesn't stick in my head much. Like, that's about where I stopped after I started the book. For a while, maybe right after the Weaver. No, it just seemed so ambiguous. Like it wasn't clear what information she gave. Like it was, I don't know. It just seemed kind of.
I will admit, I didn't really understand it until the second read. So there were some things that did not.
Yeah.
I think it was more. I mean, he's supposed to be an ambiguous. He's not supposed to. It's kind of like the genie, or like. I mean, he's basically like another sort of surreal, where it's like, I'm not going to give you the answer. I'm going to give you riddles for you to figure it out, or like I'm going to give you a roundabout answer because he knows the future. Like, and so
I felt like mostly that scene was about testing Vera's resolve more than anything.
Yeah,
like before he sent her the Weaver. Let's just do this. Go to a scary place, but the bone carver's not actually that scary, right? You know, like I didn't think the bone carver was that scary. I mean, it was kind of macabre, you know, but like I didn't think he was going to like eat it. But like the Weaver, man.
Yeah. We'll get there in a moment.
What do you think of the bone carving?
I mean, I thought the thing I liked about that the most was Amarin giving her that pin or whatever it was.
It was a necklace.
Or a necklace that said, this is what got me out. So she wouldn't be so afraid going in there because that,
the placebo
that was
effect.
traumatizing having to go back under any mountain for her ever again is going to be, just like that, just to help her get through there. I thought that part was pretty cool. And then the other thing I liked was that they each saw something different.
Yeah.
It was cool.
A different,
But I didn't really explain, it seems like fantasy trope of perception is subjective, but then it didn't really explain why they all really saw any different or what it meant.
Well, it comes later. That's what it is. It's kind of like what is that?
Foreshadowing.
Yeah, big time foreshadowing of what's coming.
I thought it was supposed to introduce characters that would be needed for the end. He seems like an end character where it's okay, he's going to give them some big information that they need to know because he was somebody that made me think, I know the past, present, future. Because what I got from that first scene was that, so she saw violet-eyed, black-haired kid. So this is my first read. I'm thinking that's young recent. Because who else do we know with violet eyes that has black? So I was thinking that was him in the past. So then we're at the present, and then him seeing Jurian was future. That's what I thought he was trying to. He's like, yes, I believe you. I think the main crux of that was her going under the mountain, testing her resolve, seeing if she'd talk about it, her dying, and then. But it was also for him to be just I know shit. I know things. Come back to me when you figure it all out. Because he knew Iburn. He knew everything already. He was just you know what to do, Rhysand.
Instead of Tyrion drinking and knowing things, this guy go
and knows things.
That should be a shirt, by the way. Whoever decides to do that. I want some
trademark
there.
We can put that as our
hard
merch.
bones, and I know things.
Yeah,
that can be part of our merch eventually.
I don't know. I always think fortune telling characters it can be kind of a weak plot device. So I'm always suspicious of because whatever you think they're saying is not ever what they're saying. So it's kind of like time travel. It's you can make that work however you want it to work, and it seems like I'd rather have characters figure stuff out themselves.
Yeah,
and fortune telling seems.
Sometimes it feels like it can confuse them a bit. Of wait, but the carver said this, so it must have been this.
Yeah.
And rather than letting themselves figure it out.
So maybe actually they didn't read the tea leaves right away.
Yeah.
They're oh, what did you see? Oh, what did you see? Oh, okay.
I guess in that way, the carver did tell them what they needed to know. He told them about he told them where to go. He told them about the Book of Breathings. He led them on that quest. So if anyway, it wasn't really necessarily. I see what you're saying. In this instance, it would necessarily was fortune telling. It was more nope, here's what you need to know, and then they proceeded to do
Rhys, it's exactly what you're.
Yeah.
But see, that's the other thing. It was Rhys already knew so much of what needed to be done, and we still don't really know how he knew so much of what needed to be done. at least not at this point.
That's what he's been doing for 3 months,
right?
Yeah.
And so again, it's I don't know. I'm suspicious.
Now on to what you were talking about. So her basically kind of her under the prison was to test her resolve, and now she has another test. What do you think of the Weaver? That terrifying creature, the Weaver.
Just super gross. That's just
that whole thing was I'm picturing all of that in my head, you know, hair on a roof and it's just
bone fat.
And it reminded me of that one movie, the guy that cut skin off.
Hannibal Lecter?
No. Yeah, but it wasn't Hannibal Lecter. It was the other guy.
Oh, sorry.
That he was trying to make himself a skin suit, trying to make himself a woman.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
And I just kept picturing, a live person in the basement hole there.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah. It's just gross. But I don't like body horror. Of all the horror types, body horror is my least favorite. It's creepiest. Not the most the real true horror for me is lack of control. Body horror is
so you wouldn't
controllably.
So you wouldn't running across a roof made of human hair.
Well, I mean, yeah, she was
covered in human pest
too. She took so many baths and.
I mean, she puked almost on Cassian when they got back.
Yeah.
I would have been right there.
It was just epic to me.
I think
epic.
And it was done for a good point.
And it was grosser than when she was fighting the worm in the.
Oh yeah.
Because that had bones and kind of gross mud,
but also worms.
But it didn't. It seemed alien enough. But this is clear human,
humanoid cannibal,
and not all the way dead, still moist and greasy and just gross.
Yeah. And she was weaving people.
Yeah, it's just gross.
I think the fact that it was cool that it was an ancient creature that's been there for even before the High Lords were a thing.
She basically controls the middle,
which that was awesome. It was almost 2 tests, right?
Yeah.
She went under obviously she went under a mountain, but it was also her even going back to that area anyway.
Yeah.
Because that was like outside of Under the Mountain.
That's true.
So it was going back there.
That's true.
Almost creating new memories instead of kind of overriding the other ones.
Although now instead of being like scared for Amarantha, you're scared for your own life.
But it seems like the Weaver doesn't leave Cod. It's almost...
It's like the witch from Hansel and Gretel. Like it stays there.
Yeah.
We talked about that, where it's almost like open door. If you come in, you're fucked. But I'm not going to like leave it. Like there's no... Yeah. Doesn't seem like she can actually leave that place.
Yeah, and so like going to see the Bone Carver was like test of her willingness and like just more of a, for lack of a better word, a spiritual test.
Yeah.
But going to see the Weaver, it turned out, was much more of a physical, quick thinking. Like, are you physically strong enough to do this?
And testing the bond to the High Lords through her magic.
The power,
right, and her sensitivity to things.
Yeah.
Ring.
The ring.
Yeah,
It'll come back.
Oh, okay.
You know who's not getting a ring though? I don't know. I'm just trying to like make good transitions.
Segue.
Make good segues. Yeah. So Reese like takes her back, and you know before she can go in a bath, he shows her the memory of Ianthe in the night, lying on his bed naked.
Yeah.
Touching herself like a ghost.
First of all, like overall, what did you think of like the memory? But then also the fact that he showed her the memory and that she couldn't leave the memory once she was in.
I feel like that's foreshadowing to something, because that didn't really, like, it started to talk a little bit about how you construct places and control how people access you. So like it's sort of as a mechanism, like this is how this is kind of. But then there was like the threat of you can get trapped, so always make sure you have a way out. And that didn't really come. So
that's true. Another piece of setup.
Yeah. What did you think about specifically about Ianthe? Think she's so high and mighty?
I mean, it's kind of gross. Just the whole. Like, I mean, it's like if a man was doing it, like how like, assaultive. It's a word.
We get
Just also like she didn't have that much power really.
Sussex.
It was very pathetic. Yeah.
He should have just.
Well, he did. He kicked her out, and he's just like, no. She said, "You'll pay for this," and he went. He looked at her face and kicked her out.
Tossed her out on her ass and closed on top.
Broke her hand. Before you say what you thought about that, the reason I bring that up is because I, kind of going off of what you said, is that I'm glad they brought up about his problems with assault.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, not just Amaranth. Like, I think even in society now, sometimes there's a thing where it's like, yes, does it happen more than likely to women from men? Yes. But there's this level of that somehow women can go further than a man could.
Because no one believes it.
Or no, so nobody believes it, or it's just like, oh, it's just a woman, you know? No, that's gross.
And also just the fact that it's not even just like a man being like assaulted by a woman, but like a man, specifically a High Lord, can also, like people in power can also get assaulted.
Yeah, like obviously he knocked her out on her ass, but it was the idea of like
she grabbed
him saying no, and then her just being like, well, I don't give a shit about you. Like that goes both ways for me. So what did you,
Ianthe? To be honest, I really didn't like her from the very beginning.
She didn't. Yeah, she was very.
I thought she was, I don't know, too nice.
Oh yeah,
too sweet. Because you know there are certain people that are like they're just like that, and I don't know if I can properly explain it in words what that means. But I've dealt with people like I didn't like her, and then it was like the fact that Lucian was kind of like
that was
Lucian couldn't stand her either.
Lucian was avoiding her, and she kept looking.
Yeah,
at first I didn't think anything of it. Then after seeing this message,
and then it all kind of. But I didn't like her, and then I was like that further did it for me because it was like.
Well, in a way about the manpower, though, I just wanted to say, though, I wonder, because, again, at this point, we don't know what really happened to Luke. Obviously, it seems like some fucked up shit happened. I feel like Reese was kind of in the quote-unquote better position there of saying no. Not, because he actually had power. Right. He was like, Lucian has no power. It was in, like, Tamlin doesn't care. He's almost in
Tamlin's friend.
He's almost in a worse position where he can say no, but there is also a level of, he can't get away from her. And that's what makes it harder.
And honestly, she could go to Tamlin and say shit about Lucian. So she's got a level of blackmail there.
As a woman, I hate women who it gives all of us a bad name. Then shit that happens, it's like, bro, come on now.
Yeah,
but I wish I can't think of the comparison of what like I thought about her in general. Like you're saying in the beginning, like there was something about her that's like it's like super phony and caring about the wrong thing. Like I don't know what she thought about, but she just seemed to care about the wrong thing.
That and also just the one thing that Feyre told her not to do out of all that wedding planning, the one thing she was actually adamant about not having, she had. It was the lack of caring even about something that she claimed that she cared. Well, I care about your opinion. Like, this is your wedding. The one thing she asked her not to do, she did.
She didn't even like necessarily like take away all the power. She's just like any color except red.
Yeah, like easy.
There were many other different colors.
People have a theory that like she did that to actually trigger. Yeah. That it was on purpose.
Could be. Yeah.
Because she wanted Tamlin for herself.
But she was not expecting Reese to show up.
No, I don't. Dude, she booked it out of there. Like, she booked it out of there. He's kind of like, it's kind of hard to get married if you don't have a priestess. She just bolted.
Tamlin whirled around like, wait, where'd she go?
Yeah.
But yeah, so we move on from all that. Now it's almost like this book somehow as simultaneously is kind of boom, 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 but definitely has softer moments. But so now we're back to the first part of the quest of getting the Book of Breathings from the Queen. So she goes to her sister's house, and we have the interaction with Nesta and Elaine again as Faye now. What did you think about her sisters meeting them again and seeing them?
I'm still gonna come down on I don't know why Feyre cares about her sister so much. And through this whole book, I still have it. Just seems so Feyre cares about people, but she seems to hold her sisters close like family. And if anything, like being in the Night Court shows her that chosen family is so much more important than blood family, and yet she has so much value on her blood.
Because she wants to choose them as her family, and they don't.
I know, and they don't respect it so far.
Maybe this, at least my thought was that the end of this book is gonna like trigger them to do.
Maybe, but that's so transactional. Like if that's what it takes
to die and turn into Faye.
I don't think they've earned much care and effort as Feyre gives them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, sure, they agreed to like let them host,
Begrudgingly.
but very begrudgingly.
They had
really, and it was Elaine because she's kind of a simpleton.
And Nesta will go along with anything that Elaine says.
Yeah, and I guess that's kind of cool that Nesta like cares about Elaine, but why didn't Nesta care about Feyre the way she cares about Elaine?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm still waiting to out there.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be a minute. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I don't, they didn't give a shit about her when she was out hunting and doing all that other stuff. And the whole first book, she's like, I want to go back home and see my sister. And now it's like it's the same thing, and it's like, why? They don't care about you. Why, should she constantly? I don't know. I feel this. It's not reciprocal. It's like after a while, just like,
I mean,
who
I
cares?
see glimmers in Nesta. There's a little tiny thing that's interesting in Nesta, like the fact that she couldn't be glamour in the first book, and I thought there would be more of a payoff on that in this book. Like I thought, like in that final scene, like there was going to be something to like she couldn't be turned or something because of the way the magic worked on her. So I don't know. Maybe there's something.
I guess like that went in her coming out. Like not necessarily about her being glamored before, but like the specialness of her is the fact that when she came out different to a scary extent.
And so like, I mean, I know we'll get there, but like Elaine was like laying on the floor versus she's
like prostrate. Like, she got up.
She's running immediately.
Yeah, because I mean, mainly because I love how what was it? The Cassian and Nesta. Ooh, dude! Immediately, we both did this on our first read. Where I see that. See that right there. They're like, okay.
I mean, I'm at the point like where I will ship anyone, but that one I'm like, oh, that I ship that.
Two type A's, and they're gonna go at it. Like
how much they're fighting, and the fact that Rhys then said like, I've never seen anyone get under Cass's skin like that. That something's gonna happen at least.
Right. So
okay, you don't know that, but I'd like to think that.
I know.
Oh, that's like me.
I mean, you know it, but like I don't know.
Because Cassian is such a sweet boy, and Nesta's like the most disliked person,
and she's so mean to him.
And like I don't want to see like that kind of relationship. Like take this really smart, sweet guy, and then this other like sort of not harpy, but
well,
kind of. There's a lot of sexism. Like you don't want like him, like his things that are good about him be counted. She's
that's true.
You want to see two strong people make judgments. Which I'm not saying that couldn't happen. I'm cautious about shipping at work.
Definitely where Nesta is like she's already like dismissing.
No, but I mean we have seen also Nesta where she's like, all right, I thought about it.
That's true.
She can moderate, but like I just like want to be like this.
Well, even at the end though, it was not the end, but that second time that they all meet up, and when he brushed her face, and everybody was like, she allowed him to touch her. Like what? Because he was saying that he was gonna protect them.
But yeah, so after like get back, they're kind of like just spending their time waiting for the Summer Court to respond to their letter, and we find that Feyre is spending some time with each of the members of the Inner Circle, just like hanging out with them around Valaris. So what did you think? Like learning more about the Inner Circle members and hanging out.
I still think it's like another example where like Feyre gets introduced to a court and then she doesn't have a job, and so like what's she doing? Just like talking with people, and not like she's getting in their way or anything like that. She's a bit of a princess.
I feel like what's different about this though is that it's he sort of gave her a job as a human emissary, but there was a level of he at least wanted to give her things to do, but they couldn't. They kind of all were stuck in a place of we can't do anything for a certain
they're waiting
amount.
For
because her job is Book of Breaths, but we don't have it. What do we do until then? She doesn't want to paint, so she makes herself do. It's like gets blood for Amryn when she needs it, or
I mean, yeah, she starts doing the training.
Yeah.
Oh, and that's
finally she's actually doing doing something.
So she's making stuff for herself, even though she might not have a job. But
I thought it was healing for her to be around, I want to say normal people, because they're not normal, but, to be around just regular people instead of, people wanting her to, constantly do things she didn't want to do.
Yeah.
Plan for the wedding or do the parties and all that stuff. She got to, kind of just be around people. And I think that was healing for her.
Also,
the training too, all that stuff kind of helped her with that too. But
also being around people who understand and understood what it was like to have choices being taken away or live in a place like Cassie and Azrael and Reese's backstories with the Illyring. Like that was
good.
Powerful to me in terms of them being together, but at the same time, them all being quote unquote bastards in their own right.
I love the fact though that Cass and Reese like just beat the shit out of each other at first.
They hated each other, and brought Azrael into the fold later. But I think that whole Illyrian war camp atmosphere is not until we go there, but the idea of knowing about it first, made it so cool to me because also like the whole thing with the Illyrian camps in general,
and then Reese's mom like bringing them together.
Yeah, Reese's mom was a powerhouse. I could just tell, but that just makes me more sad about it. So obviously, there's a lot of that was like a point where things were more low down in terms of stuff happening. But then we get to summer, and then it's another big event. So it's like, what did you think of before we get to like the actual stealing of the book? What did you think about the support moments? You want to go first?
Yeah, I mean, I like the overall vibe, I guess you'd say, of the summer court. I like how, granted, he was a new High Lord and he had a lot to learn. But they kind of interacted. It was kind of a mixture between spring and the night. It wasn't as formal and as restrictive, but you kind of had a structure, I guess, to it in a way.
Kind of showed how spring could have.
Yeah, they were all kind of just together. I mean, you know what I mean? They were they were family, but, his lower people or whatever still speak out. I mean, I liked the overall, and actually I liked him.
Tarquin was good.
I liked him. I thought he was pretty cool.
Makes it so sad.
I'm like, she said, it would really be easy to fall in love with you, someone like and you. It's like, that's true.
Lusting after her.
She's just High Lord at this point.
I feel like the majority of that was her power, though. Like her power was calling to him at first, but then of course when they toss.
Yeah. I don't know. Like kind of tried to paint a picture where like they would be a lover or whatever to Tarquin, but like it wasn't believable at all, really.
There was too much jealousy there.
Not even that. They just weren't the same mind. Like he was nice. It's like somebody.
Which is why I definitely was like, when I heard like the easy to love you, easier to be your friend, I'm like, they're gonna be friends.
Yeah.
After she betrayed.
It was a good scene. I think that also solidified her feelings for Reese, though. Not just in a jealousy way, but in a more, it could be easy to be with Tark, somebody like him, but I don't want easy, or I don't want, it's not saying being with Reese is hard, but it's more emotional, it's more raw, in that moment it was harder to...
It takes more to connect that.
Open up. Because with Tarquin, it would be the easy transition between him and Tamlin in terms of I don't really need to explain myself, I don't need to be myself, I could just be whatever. Versus with Reese, it's being yourself wholeheartedly and accepting it. And that was what was hard at the moment.
And if you think about it too, the entire time, anytime that Feyre was interacting with Tarquin, she was caring or thinking about Reese.
Yeah, she was.
So. Or I am talking with Tarquin now, but oh wow, Reese has another girl in his lap.
I was like, as a girl though, not knowing whether or not somebody else liked me, there's a level of who's this bitch in your lap?
I know you're not mine yet, so I can't be mad, but I'm mad.
I can't be mad, but it's because of the ambiguity of where we're at right now. It's I don't really know where you stand. I don't really know where I stand. Can I be mad? But I am. Wait.
Yeah, I didn't like the whole jealousy play thing. It was kind of predictable as a romance trope, but I did like what you just said. I feel jealous, but I shouldn't feel jealous.
Because he's not mine yet.
Right. And there's I kind of like that she sort of interrogated herself on that.
Yeah. She's why do I feel this way?
It was okay to acknowledge the jealousy jealousy feelings, but also to like not make that least
Mhm.
mostly, except that students. I hope you have a good time with your girlfriend.
Yeah.
I don't be passive aggressive. Passive aggressive is my least favorite relationship.
But I guess to me, that shows how like imperfectly perfect it is. Because I like this level of figuring that shit out before then. Like, I feel like nobody's perfect in a level of being jealous, or even to a certain degree when somebody starts in a relationship for the first time. There's going to be these hoops we have to come over on ourselves, but also the other person in terms of like how we're acting. So I kind of liked how, even though it might have been predictable in a romance sense, I liked how the struggle of that was.
Yeah.
Well, it's not good, but I think it was good character development. So then what did you think about the stealing the book? Her and Amron's heist was really badass.
That was pretty good.
That was very
Great scumbag.
Yeah, that was cool.
I like how, I really like that. It was a small piece of foreshadowing that I was like, oh, of course they're going to come back. Because, yeah, it made it sound, I mean, that's the fantasy element. It made it epic.
Yeah, they needed help, and then boom.
Because even all-powerful Amron couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
Amron looked scared. Like,
Yeah.
kept mentioning that, and I remember like actually getting chills while I read that. Of like, wait, Amron got chills?
Mm-hmm. Because the Book of Breathings is just that old.
Yeah.
Older than her.
Yeah.
Yeah, Book of Breathings. He can't breathe.
Oh, my, so sorry. I see what you mean, but I get it now. Well, it was half, so they half.
I like that the book talked.
Oh, it was creepy as fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was good.
Yeah, like that.
It was insane though.
I like how both halves talk differently.
Yeah, yeah.
One of them was kind of more sane, posh, and the other one was crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I like that.
Yes, so they stole the book, and then they went back to the mortal lands, and they finally meet Queen. What did we think of them?
Why are they so arrogant?
Right?
Like, why do they think they're all like gross?
Literally, they're standing in the presence of like Fae.
3 Illyrian males, Feyre. Yeah.
And yeah, then the second
More showed
time
up
more was
the second.
That people should always like bow to power or
Right.
whatever, but like they
at least respect.
or why? Why did they feel like they deserve the respect?
I mean, part of it I think is they like
I mean, they
realized that they had something over them because
They knew later.
They
Mhm.
needed book.
They need.
Yeah, and it just
To me, they kind of, and it's going to sound terrible, they kind of reminded me of King Charles in a way that not all of the royal family, I'm not saying that, but it just kind of gave off that vibe. He does. When he walks into a room, he's better than everyone in there just because he has a crown or whatever. And it's like, no, you're not. These guys, they were kind of arrogant, yes, but they were also, to me, just a bunch of
Bitches.
because it was like, who are you?
I'm glad you bring that up because there's a level of, I feel like, arrogance part of it. Like, they know Reese is a high. They know he's at a higher. I like how it kind of flips the first book on its head where, like, the Fae are the ones that are quote unquote racist. They're the ones that same must stay the same.
Yeah.
But they were the ones that were spouting same must be the same
Mhm.
the whole time.
Yeah, that
Like,
was just...
it was the hypocrisy of what they were saying with then what their entitlement to, like, oh, we can do this, da da da, like we can winnow, and the fact that was creepy.
well, yeah, the whole of how they winnowing, that was kind of an interesting thing. They kind of got glossed over. But other than that, though, I mean, Nessa realized this. She's like, yeah, you're way over there on the continent, and here we are in a borderland, and you don't care. Like, don't you actually care about this war that might come to people who are clearly more powerful than the humans?
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, you're winnowing, but
Are you gonna winnow
so what?
forever?
And not everybody can, like, just these queens.
But
can,
then again,
whatever.
I feel like queens would then just leave everyone. They're very self-preserving.
They didn't
But they-
care.
That's not self-serve. It's just so short-sighted.
It was almost like a sacrifice, like a sacrificial lamb thing. You guys can fight them first, and then we can just get whatever is left. But it's like their mindset about it is not only just morally wrong, but the fact that we're your last. If anything, we should work together to fight it now instead of you just letting us see how it goes. Because
Yeah.
once they meet you, you're dead. There's no
Right.
fighting it.
Yeah.
I mean, I can see them being suspicious, because there's the whole history of,
War.
the war and I guess maybe they got placed on the idea of the wall,
Yeah.
the treaty and all of that. But I don't know, it just seems really short-sighted.
They
Yeah.
They're horrible. And they pretty much said that, though, too, that, one,
yeah.
basically they told Nesta and that the people in that village, in that area, because pretty much if something were to happen, they're going to get it first because that's where the wall is. They're not near the wall.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, oh, well, we have to make sacrifices. And more. Not we, we, not you, we. And it, oh my God.
And I know we weren't supposed to like
I've never been so viscerally like I know characters are supposed to make you mad, but also like that this one was just like hypocrisy and shit like that and egotistical arrogance when there is none. It's like, bro.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like, why are they so arrogant?
There's nothing to back them up.
It's like one thing. You got one thing.
After that disappointing thing with the queens, we go to the Court of Nightmares
To get the Veritas orb for them so that they
to
can
have proof that P6 lost.
What?
She's laughing at the Court of Nightmares.
That's a killer nightmare. No, I was laughing at you. I'm sorry.
No, it's all right.
Same that way.
It was hot as shit, wasn't it? It was, sorry.
The Court of Nightmares, firstly, before we get into that interesting scene, they were ambushed on their flight there. Like, I mean, I know we kind of like breezed over the Adder's return in the human world. What did you guys think of like the fact that they were ambushed?
I was wondering, I was thinking, is it Tamlin that's trying to get to her? Or was it Queens? The Adder, obviously, somebody, we know
That's Hybern.
Yeah, we know he's coming, but it's like, who exactly is it that's trying to get them? Because to me, it was like, I thought it was Tamlin. I really did. Or he sent them to do that because it always seemed to be when she was there.
Yeah.
They never, when Reese or any of them guys were, they were out on their own, they never got it like that. It was always when she was there. So I honestly really did. I was like, that's got to come in to get her because he kept saying he was gonna, drag her back there. And it's like, I thought that was him or someone he sent.
I don't know. I think I thought it was probably Tyburn because it's sort of this, kind of a typical bad guy minions tracking somebody and making an act that doesn't really see it. Wake up and say, oh,
Things are
they're starting to get more active.
I like the foreshadowing of it not doing it first time, but then taking it off guard the second time, and then actually it being bad.
And it also tips Reese's hand that he's being.
At first, I thought Hybern was tracking Feyre because they wanted her since she had all the powers.
Yeah.
Well, and then retroactively, it's like, oh, Hybern was doing it to not only get them all there, but to get her to fulfill the bargain.
Yeah. So technically, he did want her, but not for the reason that I thought.
Yeah.
All right, but now we can dive into the Court of Nightmares and the the wonderful acting that they did on the throne.
You had thoughts?
Yeah.
I say what I want to say.
Oh, wow. That was just,
I want to know.
I thought they should have done more.
I know. I'm like,
go
for it.
It's like, holy moly. The way they were describing it was like, you're so warm. I mean, I had to turn the fan on over by me.
Especially listening to the graphic, too. I was like...
Yeah, you got to listen to the graphic of that scene.
It was
like, holy man.
It was like one of those where it's...
Anthony.
No, well, yes. But it was the whole, we're going to pretend.
Yeah, that's not...
They weren't pretending. Yeah.
And then they just tried to play it off like,
But I liked how sweet he was. It wasn't just the fact that it was like hot and heavy, but there were times where like he warmed her knee or warmed on her thigh.
He
or something
realized
like
his
that.
hand was too cold.
But then at some point she was just like, no, fucking do it. And he's like, okay.
Yeah.
So here's the part you don't want to know about me.
I want to know. I want to know this. I want to know this.
I'll cover my ears and then hear it back in the recording later.
Okay.
So I'm a bit submissive, so I'm just like, go for it.
Hell yeah. No, you were the same way. I'm sorry. Same way. I want him. Fuck you, Kier. I want him to see.
Kier's a bitch.
He's a love.
I just loved how he got so hot and bothered that when he walked past her and called her a whore, he broke his entire arm in pieces.
Yeah, see, I like well,
I mean, the specific word was a trick for him, but also the fact that
I guess that's true.
Yeah, because he got...
I don't know. I just don't like people to give words power.
Yeah.
Like, to me, that was just like name calling, and I'm like...
I think it was the fact that it was at her. Like, I mean, it triggered him about himself, but it wasn't... It was, I don't want her to ever feel that way about herself. And I feel like the difference between Reese and every other toxic male that would just be like, punch first, ask questions later, is the fact that that's not really a normal response from him. It's more so when they're getting more into their relationship, and he's finding how much that she affects him.
I mean, he did the whole walk in and like, ordering to bow. He's like super cold leader kind of thing. But then the moment that like someone attacks her in a way that he's been attacked, like he knows how that feels. And obviously, as we we now know another reason why. That just like triggered him. And he probably didn't even know that he was doing that until he probably heard Kira scream and was like, actually kind of worth it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And isn't this also kind of like the first time we get to see his full self, his full powers?
Yes.
Where he's cloaking some of himself too, because, because when he walks in, what did they say? You can feel...
The mountains were trembling.
Yeah, you can feel the darkness. I think that's the first time you actually
And
get the full effect of exactly how powerful. I mean, he's powerful, but this is the first time you actually get it's described how it is.
And not just him, the boys were in all 8 of their siphons.
Yeah.
We'll fuck some shit up. Is it 7?
7. 1 on the chest, 2 on the shoulders.
I don't know why I said 8. I should know 7.
Yeah, I'm just agreeing. Yeah, 8, sure.
I mean, I wouldn't even be shocked if there were 8 at that point.
Add one more.
Just add one more. Where would they put it? A necklace, maybe?
Yeah.
I know where they can put it.
Yeah, there's a couple of things we can let people go.
Okay.
Put it on their back.
So then moving from like this, I love how it transitioned from like a really, really hot and heavy scene. Cause like, of course they fight about it, but there's then a level of, they have the fight, but then it's like sweet Starfall.
Mm-hmm.
I like how it transitioned hot and heavy to like, okay, now we're bickering. It was a fight they needed to have because like a communication, but then it was Starfall is one of my favorite scenes, not just because of her dress. It was like the idea, I like a meteor shower-esque sort of atmosphere and them on the balcony and
it had some humor in it too of getting hit in the face with spirit.
Oh, that was gross.
Yeah.
I do want to say one more thing about Night.
Yeah, go ahead.
Is like this is more going back to her family, right? And she's like, and she's so cool about this family that's so terrible to her, and we get some more of her backstory and everything, and she's just,
oh yeah,
I can handle it. I like that.
Moore's entire being is like very, I don't want to say it, like it's inspiring to her because somebody who's been treated so poorly in terms of being like crucified, stabbed,
and just because she had sex with one dude that she knew, like
sullied.
She's been sullied. She cannot be sold for reading anymore.
Standards. The guys are out there.
They're
dipping their
wig.
Dude,
right?
Oh my god.
No, it's a whole double standard. Like
anyway, like that.
No, Moore is great.
Anyway, so Starfall.
Yeah. So, what'd you think of Starfall?
I liked it. But the whole fairy thing or whatever. I was thinking Tinkerbell. Honestly,
so they were like spirits that were like going across the sky, and one of them like just came out of nowhere and like hit the side of it.
But it's meteors.
Well, no, they're spirits.
So she thought it was stars, but he explained in a big monologue that they were spirits. It was kind of romantic. It was almost like mirroring their relationship. Is like they travel every year to get around to the same place, and it's like almost like a world thing. He said they travel worlds, but they're waiting for the one.
They look like a meteor shower. They're actual spirits, which is
no
Dark Ages fantasy.
He said sometimes, like the romantic part about that was he was saying that some people travel, 500 years to find their home or whatever, and it was like,
yeah,
it was cute.
But honestly, I just kept thinking of Tinkerbell pooping on them, or whatever.
Tinkerbell pooping on them.
Wow,
that's what I thought
at
first when they,
so romantic.
Well, I mean, it was
so like it was a tension break. So
it was glittery
because it's like poof, you got Tinkerbell poop.
I she paints for the first time and it's on the sand.
I like the idea of it being romantic, but also comic. I feel like that's my sort of romance. I don't need an epically romantic monologue. Just being in each other's space and laughing that was his. He saw like beautiful.
Yeah,
I loved that. I loved that so
I like and smile again.
Yeah,
smile at me again.
Yeah,
every time.
Yeah,
and then they dance through the night with their family.
Yeah, and they dance with everybody. It's not just them. Like the thing of difference about her and Tamlin was that it was just them.
Yeah,
and then they came back. This was like a no.
Like dance with everyone.
Yeah.
So I really liked that. That was really sweet. And then of course the next day they're up in the Illyrian camps.
Totally different atmosphere.
Yeah, you're talking about going from underground,
hot and heavy,
to poop, glittery poop. And now you got Illyrian stuff. It's like you got a whiplash thing going on with all the stuff that happens like right in a row.
Yeah.
The end of any series.
Not that I'm playing it. I'm just saying it's like you go from A, B, C. Jeez.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So they're up at the Illyrian camps, and Feyre's starting to see what kind of shit's happening.
Just as bad as everybody's described it as.
And they meet Devlin, and Devlin thinks that she's weird, and then Rhys just says some claiming things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So here's the thing with this whole fairy world, and will like live hundreds and thousands of years.
Mm-hmm.
Really, these like war camps have been around for hundreds and hundreds of years, and they're the same as they were when
they're probably better than they
were children. Like what the fuck?
Yeah, that is 500 years.
I feel like it has to do also with leadership. Before Reese was High Lord. I mean, we find out he was High Lord pretty young.
Yeah.
But I think it was the level of that his dad just didn't give a shit about.
Probably encouraged it.
Sorry, managing the law, or a sort of it's like hillbilly camps up, those like, in Kentucky or something. The people that nobody gives a shit about, that still has like all this bad shit going on.
Yeah.
Where it's, sorry for anybody that's in Kentucky, that was just the first thing that came to my mind. I was just, but where there's places of pockets where if you went there, it's like, wait, you guys still have Jim Crow laws? Wait, this is too old.
Yeah.
It did remind me though of that in terms, it's all about leadership, but also if they don't, because Devlin is older than them. So by their standards, it's almost, there's this warring thing where Reese is their lord, but he's also the older, he's the elder to them. So he's not going to change in his way.
And there's like that aspect, I think it was earlier that it was said that Reese banned like all the clippings of females' wings, but like some camps still refuse to do it. And so it's like that. They've been refusing to do it for 500 years.
Yeah. So fucked.
Exactly.
No matter like how much, Reese is trying to like ban that stuff and like, lead them. And Cassian's trying to have the girls train. So he's trying, but of course everyone tries to put Cassian down because he's a low-born bastard.
He doesn't have a rank. Though he does. He's literally the general of everybody.
And he made it to the top.
I think it just shows that I think that's supposed to show also that even though he's in power and was given all the power, that they just don't give a shit about it because of how he was raised or how he was born.
Yeah. Well, and there's so many different camps either. They're not
all together.
There's not like, 2 or 3 or 4 where you can, easily monitor, but I guess watch what they do or visit. You probably got how many of thousands of them little camps all over the place. You can't go see every one of them. So you're going to have those outlier ones that are just going to say, we're going to do what we want.
Also, there's probably a thing where, Azrael and Cassian and Reese all learned to be the best they could be just by surviving and forging these friendships in this really terrible situation. So I bet there's like some part of it's like, well, we don't want to make it all sunshine and roses. And like there's ways to forge things, amidst the terrible things. I have mixed feelings about that, but there's probably something that like, I went through this, I turned out fine.
Right.
Yeah.
And can I make it like a little better, or so I can include some of these people like Reese's mom who should have been a warrior,
But she never. What you guys? Sorry. Side note: the blood right. The idea of that, like, it was like a very. It was brought up briefly, so it's not like a huge thing if you don't remember. But it was the thing that Reese them did as like to prove their warrior status. They had to go for a week. Their wings bound, no weapons. They were basically like killing each other to get up to the top of the mountain of their big sacred mountain, and they had to survive and all that. I thought that was. I agree with you. There's a level of Cassian. I would say just Cassian and Reese. I wouldn't say really Azrael. He's definitely like separated himself from even wanting to get involved. Yeah. But Cassian wants to keep stuff like that, but not the other stuff. Which I guess in that is kind of hard when someone's just like, I want to like cherry pick things from this.
It's kind of like Navy SEAL, right?
Yeah.
Something along those lines.
Yeah. But you can do if you're because Cassian I feel like has such a good heart in terms of what it should be, but nobody else is going to be like him in that term of how that's going to go. So,
well, I mean, this is a common like type of story too, where you have all these really strong, skilled warrior type people, and if the contest and stories set them up like this, where you're noble and strong, you can suffer a little bit of brutality and still come out on the good side. And usually the ones that eventually there's like sort of this middle ground. It's like, what about all the strong late bloomers? Right? Like, do you want to be killing and damaging? You're also still strong people just because they couldn't be the number one or whatever.
Yeah,
I don't know. Like this sort of winner take all seems to only value a certain dimension.
Or the fact that some people like decide to, you said voluntary Hunger Games. Like they go in, like some people just want revenge on other people. They don't really care about ranks or anything.
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing, in the Illyrian camps was Feyre and Reese going around and almost like the foreshadowing them being alone together. But big thing I want to ask about is this enraged me to no end. This is what made Tamlin dead to me. What did you think about the whole story about Reese and telling him about what actually happened with his parents, their parents, and that whole thing?
Yeah,
that was wild. Because it's like basic recap for everybody is that like, sorry, Tamlin and him were friends. Tamlin betrayed Reese by telling his parent or his dad about where his sister and mom were going to be. They go kill them. The Reese Rhysand and Rhysand's dad come back to retaliate. Rhysand kills the brothers. Rhysand's dad kills Tamlin's mom and dad.
Yeah.
And then Rhysand, even at the end of all that, still saved Tamlin from getting killed too. The arrogance of Tamlin from the first book, just making it seem like, oh yeah, they got killed by some enemy court.
An enemy High Lord just killed them out of the blue.
Unprovoked. Just want your guys' thoughts. That made me mad.
I mean, I already didn't like Tamlin, but
You didn't need that.
Yeah, I didn't need like it. Just more proved that Tamlin he just became a leader default.
Oh yeah.
He's a warrior. He's
Like,
not supposed to be.
He's not even a good warrior.
Not true.
Like he's just super lame.
I mean, he claims he was in like the war bands or like his father's like war groups, but like he was clearly the poet, not fighter.
But he also was never in the war though.
That's true.
That's what is different to
Like,
him.
yeah, he's like just a poser.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. It just like, it kind of explains his character, Tamlin's character, a little bit more, I guess, in depth than what, because I already, to me, he was a douche canoe.
Yeah.
Like I said, after he put her in that was it. I was firmly team Tamlin up till that.
Mhm.
And rereading it the second time, it was like, damn, that really broke my heart when he did that. Because I really thought that, they were going to be together. And then, but it just further adds to and explains to why he is the way he, or how he is the way he is, or whatever you want to say. Because it's just like, you're lying there. You're just all over it.
Yeah, he's just, and like compared to like Rhys, who he knows people think he's terrible, and to some extent he allows terrible things to happen, tries to sort of troll it, making sure like it like really tortured.
Yeah, like with Claire.
Yeah, well, and just generally like in the Night Stop, like
Mm.
he's known for being this sort of terrible monster and doing terrible things, but it's like terrible things that terrible people deserve, and then like when knowing like call the man this whore and all this stuff all along, like he knows that people thinks about these things about him.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of him trying to like figure out how to not be those things, to try to convince in the court of public opinion, he just like, I know what I'm doing, I know why I'm doing it, and I try to minimize the harm that I'm doing in service of the good, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not to excuse the terrible things or to say, oh well, it means justify the ends. Like it's a little bit of means justify the ends, but he tries to minimize the damage, and he also takes a lot of pain on himself to protect his goals. Whereas like Tamlin is he's just like, he has no ideals at all.
I agree.
Yeah.
Snaps.
Snaps. Preach.
Snaps.
You got some snaps there. Yeah, so she explodes in fire when she hears that.
That was Dad's mate. He was like, yeah, that's my favorite part.
Yeah.
Just when she explodes the forest.
Right.
It would be.
And then,
that
like-
would be his favorite part.
And then the following day, then go out further into the Illyrian Mountains to get away in case she does blow up again. And then we have an encounter with an old friend showing up again. What did you think of Lucian's return?
I was so glad at Farrah's anger at him.
Good.
Mhm.
It's like she didn't even give him a chance to explain himself. You knew I was dying, and I begged you to help me.
Mhm.
Fuck you.
Exactly.
Of course, not my home. I'm not going home.
It was great. It was great.
You.
This is one of the few occasions I didn't really like.
Yeah.
Which sucks because
He deep down is such a good character. And on a side note, Sarah J. Maas, if you ever see this, if Lucian does not get his happy ending, you'll be hearing it. That's all I got to say about that.
threat
Anyway,
imminent.
but this is the one occasion I didn't like him at all. I couldn't stand it. What are you doing? He had to know deep down it wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And here he is doing it anyway. It's like, what is the matter with you?
And he's blaming Rhys for Feyre's anger at him.
It wasn't only it was his actions, it was the way he said it. It's like, we've been hunting for you. Hunting. Tamlin didn't come himself.
Yeah.
Lucian came. And even then, even at the end, he was just like, you're dead, you and your whole cursed court. It's like,
That's a threat. You're
Dude.
threatening a High Lord in his court.
are you so blinded as in not to see? Because to me, when I'm thinking about in a fantasy, you know what I'm talking. You kind of know when somebody's being mind controlled, or to a level of them being not the person that they are at all.
Yeah.
Are you so blind as to see that this is her?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
She's changed, yeah. But she said, like, the person he knew died under the mountain.
it wasn't out of character.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like when an abuser isolates you from your people, like you can't. Like if you're being isolated, you make excuses, and it's weak, and you at some point you just shut down conversation.
Mhm.
Whereas like she is like is very clear about what's going on, what she's thinking, that it's her and her survival.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Like it's not making excuses for Rhys. It's about her. She's
Yeah.
like, I needed this, and you did not do that. And it's not like Rhys is the one who loves me.
Yeah.
Which is what you like, and it happens when you come under somebody's thrall. It's like you put all of it in the person's capturing you.
Mhm.
But like she was like all about herself.
Yeah. Happy for her. It was good.
And she grew wings.
Oh,
Yeah.
that was
Yeah, that
epic. That was cool.
I love that.
So I will say such an empowering girl moment, and then proceeding the end scene. Ooh, this
brothel.
The end brothel thing was so hype for me. Like, even before, like, the actual sex. This was definitely, like, a bit of one bed trope. He's putting himself, he has been the one putting himself out there before she has. And I think that's what I like about his romance, is that he's just like, I like when you look at me like I'm not someone to be scared of, or, you know, you see me, or I'm like,
she's like, I used to be scared, and he's like, no, you weren't.
He's so sweet. What did you think of the end? And subsequent second,
that was,
I called it 2.5 base, because you know when like a runner's like halfway out of second, that's what they were doing. They were so close to. What do you think?
I liked it. I mean, it's a steady, aggressive buildup of what's to come, and each time they get
intimate,
they get more. It's like more and more, but it's also something that I think Feyre needs, because she's not ready yet to admit. She knows she has feelings. She's just not ready to admit them, because she's trying to think to herself, is she doing it for her? You know, like it was with Tamlin, or, you know, she gave so much to him. It's like she's not ready to give herself that to someone else, I don't think.
Right.
Yeah. And when she said she just wanted a little fun, that kind of broke.
100%.
But, you know, it's like but emotionally, that's kind of where she was at that time. So
she knew it was a lie, though. She even said it in the monologue.
Well, yeah, she knew it, but she didn't want to admit it to herself, and that's the difference. You know, you can know it, and, you know, I want it, but if your brain is telling you no, then
why does she say no? Like, what? Like, think about this. Like, yes, what do you want? Right. So she has that moment. Does she say what she actually wants, or like what's she protecting herself from? Right. Because that's why you don't answer a question truthfully, because you can't be that vulnerable. Because you're afraid of something. So, like, I guess she's still like comes out a little later. Like, she's still not sure if he is still playing some sort of role. I'm not really zero.
I think, at least from my understanding of what that was that before, right, she was very, it kind of goes off of what Mom said, in terms of before, she just, okay, even though from our first book perspective, she questioned him a lot, but there was a point to where Feyre fell so much in love with Tamlin that there stopped being questioned. And that's what you said at the end of the last, that I was just like, just wait. Because, like, her stopping asking questions, and her just being at the end of that before that, is totally what this is happening again. It's because it's the trigger of, I just believed everything he said and didn't once question. That's why she's over questioning everything, because now she's going the opposite way. It's like, does he truly mean what he said? Right. Should I go with it? Am I being lied to once again? And, you know, at every turn, she knows it's not, like, deep down, but there's always this, you know, and anybody who's been continually lied to, or, you know, has been in this sort of manipulative scenario, is always gonna have this second guessing nature about it.
You're questioning your own judgment. Not only what they're saying to you, but how you feel in return.
If I fall in love with him, somebody else again, like that, and deep like that, is it going to end up the same? Or so I think that's what it was. At least on my sixth.
Yeah, and then after that, we can see that Rhys not very happy about being used as a distraction. And so he's distracted on his own, and he gets shot out of the sky. Second ambush. What do we think about the whole ambush and Feyre saving him?
Badass.
So, like, on one hand, it's like, oh, even though she's still confused about how she feels about it, the truth is, like she said, I would say she's like goes all out. Like, I mean, she fucking catches a fucking cereal with like that. I'm like, that I can do. You know,
Right? Using Alice's advice this time instead of the chicken.
But at the same, like, I hesitated because, like, she also does that for her fucking sisters who don't deserve it in some ways, right? I mean, it wasn't as hard, like, whatever she had to do with her sisters, but, like, she just, like, leaves everything on the table for people she loves. I mean, she did it even for Tamlin, right? She loved Tamlin.
She died for it.
Right? And I'm going to try everything I can, and this is crazy.
Well, yeah, and she just kills everybody without a second thought.
Yeah, that was badass.
Like,
winnowing, when she was, like, struggling with winnowing before.
With her, she didn't even use her, she didn't use magic to kill them. Like, the winnowing was the magic she used, but the other thing was her sword.
Yeah.
I liked how that
I thought that it was like a progression for her in a situation. It's like she's getting in more dangerous situation, and she's realizing, she's getting her confidence back. She's realizing that, you know, this is kind of like first time, well, not necessarily, but she didn't panic. What do I do? She's like, I gotta do this, and then she went and chopped them all up.
Yeah.
You know, that's what I thought, because it was like, in the Weaver, she got stuck in the chimney and panicked, and she's like, I can't. And now she's like,
doesn't matter if I can't.
I can just do, I got it.
And it wasn't till this reread that I understood why the mating bond scared her so much. Was that. It was all that. It was all about, because she was just like, because I mean, yes, there was part of it. That was part of it. The instinctual fine. That was there is why she like and that's why she had her like fucking tantrum that will. But like, regardless, that's why I understood that more. But yeah, it was her, because like before, Rhys-Ann was always there to help. You know, kind of on the sidelines, let her do her own thing. But no, this was her. If she didn't do it, he would have died.
Right.
And so then, yes, why was the Suriel there? Like, because remember, the Suriel is
a rare breed.
Is a race of There's not just one. Why was this particular one up there at that particular time in that area?
Well, the thing is, there's not just one, but they're also very rare.
Yes.
And hard catch. So specifically, why was it there and how was it the same one?
Yeah.
It's almost like it was following to spill the tea.
That's what I think it is. I think it's following her.
Because somehow Feyre is like some strange thing that the Suriel is invested in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he wants to see her succeed or, whatever. And it's like,
curious.
And he's kind of stalking in a good stalkerish way.
At least he has info.
At least he's helping her. He's not. I think it is. I think he's following. He's tracking her.
And he drops another bombshell again. First one was like, oh, you didn't know that Tamlin was the High Lord of Frey. Now it's, oh, you did not know that the High Lord of Night is your mate.
It's like, what?
Yeah. Hold that again.
I love how that was a layered thing, is the first one, right? He said, stay with the High Lord.
Yeah.
Where first, and I think wholeheartedly, we've talked about this, wholeheartedly, I think in that moment it definitely did, because there was no way that it did. It was a double entendre, and not in a sexual way. It was a double entendre of like, oh, no, he meant him.
I totally imagine though, like the Suriel saying like, stay with the High Lord and stuff. She stays with Tamlin and then she switches
stay with the High Lord
to Rhys, and it's just like, well, actually that works too. I support there.
Which High Lord, dude?
It was so
specific.
Yeah.
So then, yes, of course, we get that. So that was badass.
Oh, sorry.
What?
I was going to mention, like, before he was shot down, because it's where Feyre told him that she would never walk away from him. Like, she was the one thing that she would never walk away from.
Then proceeds to do so.
Yeah. That was an important thing to mention, because she literally 2 days later, she did.
Yeah.
And I think we all know, like, we were all mad about the tantrum. Like, obviously, like, there was a level of, we understand why it happened, but it's also like, dude, why?
Walk away.
Like, it was kind of, okay, sorry. So she walks away from him. Moore takes her to the cabin. The cabin. And so this happens. I will say that I love how I took it this time is that we talked about this. That I think the reason that not only did she have this kind of tantrum-esque sort of thing, but it was the fact that she wanted to know if they would actually take her away. Like, it was a test for them. It was a test for the inner circle.
Because they had previously realized that if Rhys was ever treating her bad, they would not have questioned. They would have gotten her out first and then figured it out, which Lucian do. And so I agree with Tabby. Like, she was testing to see if they would take her away if she asked.
So what do you...
So I was gonna say, like, I'll never walk away, but like, it's kind of like spirit of the law, letter of the law kind of thing. Like, just because you need like a break, sometimes you need to get away from the thing that's causing you emotional stress so you can like see it clearly and not feel like that continual pressure on like, this is stressing me out. Like, I'm so confused and I need to be like, if you're right there in front of me, like, I can't get unconfused. And so she needed that time. Maybe not.
She went about it.
She didn't say like, I need a minute. She was like, get me out of here for those other reasons. But like, I think it's okay. Like, I think she can still be true to not giving up on it.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, honestly, like, if she was like, I'm done with this, I'm done with Rhys, I'm done with it, like, I don't know where she would go. But like, she still stayed in the night court, right? Like, she didn't really walk. I don't know where she would have gone.
I think it was just triggering him doing the one thing that he thought was going to happen. What did you think of before he shows up, Cassie?
Before Rhys shows up,
Yeah.
I thought that whole thing was her actually finally just letting go of Tam and all of that in her past and just saying, yeah, he's my mate. This explains why I feel the way I do. And it's also giving her a chance to just, that's what I thought. It's just like, let Tamlin go, let all of that go. And just now she can say, yeah, I want to be, I love Rhys. And that's why I feel the way I
agree.
Because I do that with your dad. I get like that sometimes. It's like, don't talk to me. I need a half hour. And he will. He'll give me, especially when I was working. I don't know if you remember, I used to do that. I come home from work, talk to me. I need a half hour. And I take myself, I go to the bathroom, sit in front of my computer.
Or smoke.
Well, I did both. But, but I needed that time so I could collect myself so I wouldn't say a whole bunch of stupid crap. Because I'm kind of like that. I kind of blow up, say stupid stuff that I don't mean. We're talking stuff that happened like, 3 or 4 months ago and I'm spewing it in his face. And then he's just staring staring at me like no, I just don't want to talk.
Yeah.
So I think that was kind of like a reset, kind of just like I'm letting go here and I'm gonna. Because she says I can see my future, and that's what I.
So then the subsequent chapter 54, 55, we can lump them together. What did you think of him, the rawness of him telling his entire story, and then the subsequent making love for days?
Yeah. It was interesting to like go back through that whole history, the other view.
Yes.
Like on one hand, I was like, it's convenient to just go back and retell the story. But also it was kind of like, I mean, like you're saying, like you guys alluded to this early on, spoilers, like, oh, there you are, I've been looking for you. Like,
Yeah.
so cool.
Yeah.
He's like, I didn't know I was looking for you, but then I saw you and I knew that's who I've been looking for.
And he said it without even thinking about
I know. That was so good. That was awesome.
I remember when I first read through it with her, and we did our book talks, I kept saying, like, I want to know what he's thinking. And then we get here to this the second book, we get here, and it's just, thank you.
Like, why do you think everybody likes Calamite?
Yeah.
Like, going back, we're just like,
I mean, it's sad. It's even sadder now, knowing his perspective.
I don't know, like he's such a like powerful dude, right? All along, got this super, super soft, like whatever. I can't even think of the right word. But like he's scheming in some ways. Like I had to figure out who you were and how to manipulate you without actually manipulating you, because I didn't want to use my mind powers on you, because that would like screw me in the end. I had to make things happen for you without actually manipulating you.
Yeah.
Like that was kind of cool too.
He thinks through everything so that doesn't hurt who doesn't need
Right. And while still giving her choice.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Somehow, through all of the bullshit he's been through, he still has given her choice.
Yeah.
I think my
What a
favorite
male.
part besides there you are is the whole, he saw her even before, that like he had visions of her
Yeah, and sending the image of the night.
and sending the image of
Yeah.
the night for her to paint. That threw me.
Because remember, she said that she didn't know why she chose night for herself.
She said that back in the beginning. She said she didn't know.
Yeah.
And it makes it so much more sense. Or the fact that we always bring up is the fact that he knew they were mates while she was human, which is very uncommon.
Yeah.
Because the whole point of what we have explained in the mating bond beforehand is that they both click into place when they see each other. But this was like in a different way where like he did, but she didn't, because she didn't have power at the time, so she couldn't kill.
And then it clicked into place when he saw her after she was Faye.
Yeah, that explained all that.
Just imagine that, like this, like girl that like you've been trying to save and who you may actually find yourself like having feelings for, and then all of a sudden you feel that click and you're like, my mate is my crush.
Or yeah, the fact that he kept saying that he stayed away, but then she kept coming back into his life somehow, and then
It's like, if you were with him, like you were gonna be happy, so I could let you be happy.
bitch, no,
She wasn't happy.
she wasn't.
So we didn't know.
That's true.
Yeah,
I mean, I guess he probably could have inferred because of what a weasel Tamlin was. But again, like he always gives her choice. Like he's not saying like from the day one, you don't want to be with Tamlin, he's a dipshit.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just kept
If you
trying
wanted to be
protect
with
her
her,
in
yeah.
the ways they could without taking away her agency. Yeah, that was great. For the record, I don't believe in fate, and so the fact that this kind of works for me
That's pretty good.
without believing in fate, there's something like I do believe like sometimes like I don't call that fate. I just and for whatever reason they just like vibe on the same scene. and
Yeah.
I guess then my act, like devil's advocate on that, is just, I think sometimes some things are it's too hard to explain.
yeah.
Not in a way where it's just like, okay, yeah, relationships are all about people. I think what I like about this sort of mating bond thing is that their parents were terrible. They worked, like they clicked as mates, but they weren't necessarily good for each other. Their mating bond transcends like a normal, because like, yeah, if some people are like click together, that doesn't necessarily mean give them agency that their relationship is perfect. They work for their relationship, which makes it the way it is.
Like there's a whole expression of like, it's like, oh, you're so lucky to be with that amazing person, or even people who say, you know, about it themselves, like I'm so lucky. But like, yeah, there's some luck. Maybe that's fate. They have two sides of the same coin of like how you come together, how each other, how the circumstances in which you're allowed to discover this thing about it. That's just that moment. What you do in all of those moments is not luck. That's just who you are, and that's what's a relationship special. Is not the meeting, but what you do with it.
And I guess I believe in the fate of the circumstance, but also like the fate in if this is where you are in your life, that you're willing to work on, because let's say before you're not as willing to work in a relationship, and that's what lets it go. The fate of things aligning that sometimes you can't necessarily explore. Like,
And I just let those things just be amazing things. Not try to like say like there's some higher power, some predestined thing. I don't think it's predestined. I think like fate is like predestined. And to me, it's like just like these things happen, these random things happen. Who you meet, circumstances, where you are in your life, all of those things are just like all random things. And then sometimes they just like are, and then it's amazing. You just like appreciate the amazing.
what do you think?
I mean, For me, it's a little bit different because I like the fact that, I like how open he is. And I also I like the concept of a mate. I really do.
Me too.
Because I just think it's like, it is so special to see, that you have this one person that picked just for you. And I kind of feel like that with your dad because him and I worked together 5 years and we were just friends. And then one night, a bunch of us went out for drinks and he put his hand on my knee and I'm like, that's the man I'm going to marry. And that is exactly why. As far as the book goes, I like the fact that Reese opened up to her so much and showed so much of himself and how broken, here she is thinking she's the only one that's broken. Well, he's just as broken as she is. So together they're kind of a whole. You know what I mean?
They piece each other together at times.
But that's the other. It's like so many of these romances are like, oh, you made me better. But no, you have to be a good person yourself before you can let somebody else into that part.
Yeah. I think it's also just maybe for me in terms of being, I don't want to say in like normal life of it being just feeling like people have told me constantly that nobody's or that like I'm not worthy enough for anybody. That there's a level of this idea that there's somebody out there for me. Whether or not you believe that's fate or whether or not you believe it's circumstance. It's like the romantic notion of it being like, especially as somebody who's been told that a lot, is like that is very romantic to me.
But see, here's the thing. That's what I want to tell you. Is like what's romantic is you loving yourself and being true to yourself and your ideals that other people see it. Mm-hmm. And then when you find the person who appreciates that about you, it just like explodes,
right?
And resonates.
In a mating bond.
And it resonates. I mean, a mating bond is a resonation with something.
Mm-hmm.
That's
resonating, yeah.
It's so use the word like vibe, but it's so true. Like you just like meet somebody who like just vibes with you,
understands
on all of those levels, and so all you have to do is like maybe it's not fate, but I think it's just like being who you are, the best you can be every single day, so that when that circumstance happens, when you meet somebody who gets you, who sees you, you recognize it.
Yeah.
That's the other thing I was gonna say is I loved that Reese, his insecurity is that he wasn't worthy, and like that's what she says. She doesn't say I love you. She says you are worthy. You are worth all of this.
It's also been constantly. Even in the last of it, yeah. It's Mother's Day weekend. We gotta be enheartening to each other. Gonna make me cry. I can't. My mascara.
That's why I don't wear makeup.
Very much a transition from that. So, what did you think of the sex? What did you think of the sex?
Look, it's about damn time. It's great,
Okay, here's what I gotta say. Like, it was pretty good. It's like, Liesl, it's good to see me in here. But I was so mad. That when she finally sees his penis, she's like, I think it's so long, about the wings. And I was like, God, why'd you have to go there? Why can't he just have a normal penis?
Because he's a high lord.
It's fan service, but also I agree with that. I agree with that.
Yeah, because this story does, there's a lot of romance tropes and everything like that, but it does a lot of normalizing relationships in healthy ways. And I feel like big cock worship is so anti.
I feel like though, like it's because he's an Illyrian more so than I feel like because they're all
just said it was beautiful or whatever. Why did it have to be big?
Yeah, just choose a different adjective.
Yeah, so much.
What about you?
I was not.
Not upset by it in the slightest.
Like, you know what? I'm gonna be honest here. Guy opens up pants. I kind of hope they. You know what I'm saying? I'm sorry. I don't mean to be crass or rude, but that's just me.
Happy Mother's Day.
I just mean that. I was like, yes, please.
Yes. Like, well, I think it was also like the romance. Like, if that was just like a sex scene at the beginning of a book, or like it didn't mean anything, I think the fact that there was buildup of a romance and like the emotional connection they had surpassed any of the other things that I would have criticized. I feel like, especially him showing his wings, her sun shining, them talking in the bath. It was very like normal stuff that I was like, oh, this is nice. This is sweet.
True. And it was more of a holistic connecting, right? It wasn't just about penis and vagina sex. So I did like that. But here's my second thing. Sometimes I love to pick this stuff apart.
Yeah.
It was like most of like talking about her pleasure uses euphemisms, apex of her thighs. And it was also used more than once. But at the same time, like using words like fucking, and then she does finally say cock, which I was like, oh, okay. But like to me, like that's more normal. It's like fucking whatever. Like when we talk about her sexuality, it's always in these like euphemisms.
We said that last time.
I
like
did.
in terms of like no. I think I sometimes like things in a mystical way, but I also feel like that's her just. I'm getting my cop out answer. It's more like her just being like, this is.
To be fair, I have heard from other erotica, like it's hard to describe a lot of sex and not be repetitive with the words. So you kind of want to try to find different different words for similar things. And so that's a challenge. But
I feel like it was also
apex of your thighs. Who talks about the apex of your thighs?
well, at first I didn't really understand what that meant.
Yeah.
I was like,
I'll
where
admit,
is that? Like
the first time I heard apex of your thighs, I thought it was like the hip joints. I'm like, okay, I mean, I guess you can get closer there.
I
Her erogenous zone is the crease of her thigh.
I think it was also like the nature of what it was. If it was one of those ones more like where they everything else past this, I feel like it's crasser in a sense of like because they had their first moment together. Now everything else is kind of going to be more like, in my eyes.
Yeah,
but
it wasn't like all like that. I guess there's just like certain because
I understand.
We talked about her slickness or wet, sticking fingers in whatever like that. I mean, that's I actually like that because that's like what happens. But like apex of
so no big cocks and no apex of thighs.
No, yes to the first one.
Okay. In terms of like writing
on this side of the room. Yeah.
You're not anti-big cock.
Like of course he does.
Everybody else has to be small now, okay?
Cassian has to be completely average.
Yes, completely average. Is that going to happen? Probably not.
Probably not. He's Illyrian and he's more muscled than Reese.
Yeah, I agree with the flowery term. That's kind of
just see like
I like how it is balanced in a way because you've got a little bit of both in there.
People.
But yeah, you talk. Oh, he's my flowers blooming.
Ew. Well, at least I didn't say
have
that.
a flower. Well, I've read a lot of other books.
Yeah, so true.
And some of them are just like you're reading it, and you're going,
like,
huh?
I kind of want like sometimes it's like I'll skip through this. This doesn't.
Usually those books I'll just like they talk about stuff like that.
Let's skip ahead.
When I find like perfect one,
and we'll read it. Yeah,
yeah, we'll add it to our list.
Definitely read it.
But I did like that they had sex all kinds of ways.
Yeah,
I really did like in the first like that she was actually on top of him and like how she liked that, how not just her dominating him, but like they were together
and symbolic of how Amarantha was always on top.
Right, that he could reclaim that.
He let her, it was a way for him to be vulnerable.
A way for him to move on.
Yeah,
it wasn't dominating. It was just
out of love.
Different.
So they, they fuck for a couple days.
Yeah,
and then
it's true.
They fight
for days,
and then
horns and spoons on their heads.
Then Reese comes back and fights with Cassian because Cassian could see how on edge he is.
Hilarious.
Then they go back to Valaris and they go to meet the queens again. Share Valaris with them, which I believe is stupid, and I've mentioned that before. And then
so the queen gives them the book of breathing. That golden queen gives them the book of breathing,
but like secretly.
Yeah,
leaves it behind under their chair, and they're like, okay, finally we have it. So they give it to Amaranth.
It was. I think the golden queen was powerful in that.
That's true.
I think that was
because I feel like in a way that's like the golden queen. If the other queens didn't know she had it, does that mean it only took one queen to give it?
I think so. Because the magic wasn't that specific.
That's true.
It said one queen had to give it.
It just said it had to be given with permission.
It had to be given with permission. It didn't say amount.
Yeah. So it did make me wonder what kind of stuff was put on, what kind of like wards and stuff were put on it. But anyway, so now they have both sides books. Amaranth's trying to decipher them, and then
just confused about because I thought the reason she could do it is because she was so old and like knew like only the ancient language. I'm like so hard about
right.
What she had to actually doing.
She had to relearn it.
Oh.
What's
so
also
she was like deciphering it,
putting two halves of like a metal book together, and then understanding all what it meant. Like
it was probably
maybe
written
it was
in like riddles and stuff.
Yeah, like Shakespearean level language of like. I mean, to some people, Shakespeare is kind of hard.
Ye shall die.
Or the level of what do I actually need to know? What's important? How do I read this whole book but get the information I need?
Yeah,
and everything is they're still playing the waiting game, and then the attack happens. They expose for the sake of peace. They expose Valaris, and what happens? Not peace. Attack. War.
Immediately.
Starting with the Golden Queen dying. So what do we think about the attack?
That was gruesome.
Wow.
Being impaled on a light post while still alive, but after having been turned.
Eyes clawed out, hair torn out.
Wheezing.
Oh my god.
I totally had like images of the last Harry Potter where like the bridge in London gets blown up. Like, I was totally imagining that scene.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Because they were on the bridge when it started.
Yeah.
Granted, it was like probably a stone, but
yeah.
And it was like air adder stuff. It was all adder types coming at them.
Yeah. Ugh, more than one adder? No thanks.
I couldn't tell how she knew which adder it was because she described it as
Maybe it was
all
the
of
only
them were
posh
adder.
one.
Yeah, the graphic audio had the adder as a posh dude, and I'm like, that was a choice. It was a choice. But what did you think of the whole attack?
Oh,
how
I
badass
was-
she was.
I was so that part I was pissed.
Yeah,
that
of
happened
course.
in the first place. I knew as soon as they gave him that, it was like,
Well,
God
especially because like
damn it.
she shadowed. It's not right. It's not right. Then I thought she would like do something to stop it, and she didn't. At that point of the handover, or at least it was in Glarus.
Yeah.
But yeah, they did it for all the right reasons, and it ended up.
But they were compromised and they didn't even know it.
Yeah.
The queens were compromised already.
Yeah, I mean, but her making the little wolf things and all
pretty
that,
cool.
that was pretty cool.
Everyone loves the water wolves.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, and I like the fact, that they were all there, getting
Fighting.
Amron making booms and,
Dude, that was, was
all
cool.
that stuff going on. But,
Although Reese was like rushing back to the human city.
yeah, and he was there.
He's just like, where are you? And Favor's, nah, I'm not dealing with it right now.
Yeah, he keeps screaming Favor, and she's like, I wish I had that power.
She's
You
like,
know.
she's just there. I'm fine.
Yeah,
Shut
just,
the door.
I don't want to hear you.
She's
anymore.
like,
At
I'm
least
just
like
getting
let him know
revenge.
that she's holding her own.
Whereas he's just like,
Busy.
where are you?
and she like shattered the adder. Thank
pretty
God.
It was so satisfying.
yeah.
I liked all the different ways though that like enemy got like the ones who like
Mhm.
thought they were way above the ground and like
Yeah.
smashed into the
Yeah.
ground. And
Cameron's
ones that, like,
Cameron,
were
yeah.
drowning on the water.
Yeah.
Aaron's power is so scary. Cool.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they managed to get through it. Like they managed to succeed.
Mhm.
But obviously there's
At a cost.
at a cost. They had to rebuild it, and like they had to like redo the wards. 'Cause
Yeah.
the wards were shattered
By the cauldron.
by the cauldron.
Yeah.
So
And
but yeah, and then they're all just like chilling, and like everyone's like hanging out on Az's shoulder.
Mhm.
Which I
Yeah, and
thought
he's
was
sitting
kinda
there
funny.
going,
Yeah, why is she?
Yeah.
is she going to blow up on me? Am I going to lose a limb over here? I thought that was
They're all like tired and stuff, and they're talking about how they're gonna get to Hybrid.
Retaliate.
yeah.
Now they have. I mean, they were already going to, but now they have to.
Yeah.
So, I mean, overall, the end. Because, like, up until a certain point, they go, it feels off. Of course it does. But it's almost like bombshell after bombshell after bombshell. And it was, like, epic in a really good... It's like, it's like one backstabbing, and then it's just backstab after backstab. What did you think of the end up until Hybern? I want to, like, separate the end versus Hybern end.
What do you mean?
Tamlin's betrayal, Azrael getting shot,
Yeah, that.
the queens finding out that Jurian compromised them. Jurian's back. Hello.
I mean, you're always satisfied when bad guys double cross each other. Like
Yeah.
that's always good, even if you're not sure like how it's gonna work out.
Mm.
But that at least like sort of distracts them from each other. And like we don't quite see what's gonna happen. I mean, jumping ahead, Queens in the Cauldron and Hybern and all that. Like there's more shenanigans coming from that, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah. And also it was just like of course Tamlin and Lucian like being so fucking out of their league. Like you fucking idiots.
They made a bargain, and then they ended up on their ass with magic colors around their neck.
Yeah.
So stupid. And I thought it was hilarious that Lucian was like, "You're my mate." Yeah, I mean, we're jumping ahead to the Hagrid scene, but like, I'm just like, you're such a tool.
So, yeah, obviously, Feyre tries to stop the cauldron, but she almost killed
Yeah.
because and she puts the two halves of the Book of Breathings together, which is definitely a next book thing.
Yeah.
Because, like, Amryn had that whole thing where she was like,
Don't
don't
together.
Don't
I
do
thought
it.
something was going to explode if you put it together.
That's what she said.
It's like,
She said she didn't say it would blow up. She said that ancient things would it create a sonic wave to call out to all these
that's
ancient
what I mean. I
things.
was expecting like some kind of.
It's a slow.
Yeah.
I think it was a shockwave, but they're not going to hear the repercussions till later. Kind of.
Like 800 worms are going to come up out of the ground.
Ew.
Something weird like that, but yeah.
So then, that, and then of course Jurian shooting Azrael with the blood. So keeping them hostage so that they couldn't do that. Then Hybern took away all their magic.
Kept getting worse.
They couldn't get out of there, and then they couldn't. But
worse.
they could fight back because, like, remember how the whole book they perpetuated this thing of even if their magic's taken away, they can still physically. He took that away. He took that choice because of Azrael and Bloodlane.
Right.
That was the leverage that he had.
Yeah.
And then, of course, leading into Tamlin and Lucian coming out, and even I love how the first thing in that first chapter after they emerge from the shadows, Rhys and Cassian are just like the the fuck? Because
like, no way.
Tamlin's whole thing was about hating Hybern, hating what his father did. And it just goes back to that whole thing that Reese said in the summer court about love being a poison when it's too much.
I don't think at this point he actually loved her anymore. I just think he wanted to possess her.
Oh, for sure.
That love flew out the window.
And it was like an ego thing too, as this guy just stole something from me. I'm going to get it back.
Yeah. And she was steadily, up until a certain point, just screaming at him, no, I want to stay here. And they're still blaming, it was like,
It goes back to what Jenny said. She wasn't even bringing them up as an excuse for, like, she was yelling at them about her, not about
and
them. Delusion.
That was just, what the hell?
So then, of course, then the Queen's coming out, double crossing. They knew all along, because Jury compromised them long before. It wasn't just that the fact that they betrayed him, but also Queens, I don't fucking get it. They like, they know that Hybern is somebody who kills humans. They know that they're not good, but it's almost like a self-preservation. The Hybern saying, we'll kill everybody else and leave you alone.
We'll give you,
we'll give you.
But like going back to the first scene with Sam, like, what is your arrogance about? Why do you think you're smarter and more powerful?
And he's ancient.
People who are fucking old.
And what do you think? Do you actually believe that the king is going to do this for you?
No, like, that is a double cross waiting to happen, but they think because if they go in the that's their whole angle now, is that if they go in the cauldron,
the arrogance,
that they'll come out. But the thing is, and we don't know the repercussions. That's something I was going to ask in terms of what you thought, because we know, but like in your thoughts of what's going to happen with that. But the fact that only the strong-willed can go in and come out.
Well, Nesta.
Just Nesta.
But Elaine came out fine too.
Yeah, which is interesting.
Although she was,
she didn't drown.
Yeah, she didn't.
Yeah, but what does it mean come out, right? Like, it could be just like dissolved.
Came out alive.
Yeah.
And as a fae, but you don't know like if she's a shell or not.
Yeah, or like what does that mean?
Her body's alive, at least.
Yeah.
And you knew like, and that Nessa would come out. And that was what I was going with, like this magic work on right?
I think it goes back to like I just love Finger. The death promise
like,
of you are gonna fucking pay. And then her even getting shoved in fighting against fey creatures and coming out, and there was just this silence.
And the king was actually scared.
The king was scared as fuck. And
but you know, like in Indiana Jones and the Last Kingdom, where like he has to pick which chalice to drink out of, you know, and like these bad guys, you know, like, oh, it's the most beautiful one, I'm gonna drink out of that, and then they like,
they melt.
But it's like, that's what I'm thinking. Queens are gonna like, oh, I'm gonna get the immortality. I've seen it work. I know it's gonna work. And then they like just so much pride and arrogance. Like, you know, it's not gonna work out. You know, shit's gonna go bad out.
Oh yeah. So you think they're gonna die if they go
or something terrible
or something.
They're clearly not strong-willed.
It's not.
They're hiding behind the king for safety.
It's also like a thing where we talked about how and this is just a thing that we've always thought, is that Farrah, Elaine, and Nesta are somehow having some sort of fey heritage. That them going in there was almost a trick for their own powers to manifest, whether or not they were given it or not. And then, of course, Farrah, the reason it worked her getting resurrected is hers.
Well, hers
was different. But I like how they're different, even though, and it goes back to something Devlin said, and it's important to bring up, is that he said that Farrah smelled like Amber, but they were made completely different ways. Because like Amren is, we don't know what, like Amren was made, it was like she was stuffed into another body, not
resurrected,
killed. Versus like the girls, they weren't necessarily like killed like Farrah was, but they almost like their body got like transformed, but almost like burned off. I think of it as like an acid, where they just got burned off away, and then their immortality kind of went over it.
Their soul was kept and then retransformed to a fae body.
Yeah, and Farrah's was just, I like how they're all different, but somehow there's this connecting line that we can't understand why that is, even though they're all sort of the same. Which I like the ambiguity of that.
Although the queens, do they have some too because of the winnowing thing? Like, is the winnowing just the thing that is, you know, the little trait follows them? I don't know. What does that mean? That's interesting. I hadn't thought about that. There's some fae heritage. Of course, that makes sense. It's obviously.
And they did probably during the war, especially when they were on the same.
It was such a pattern of faes picking human mates.
Yeah.
And also slaves.
And like, that's a thing.
Slaves and prisoners of war.
Yeah. So then, of course, we get Farrah's whole breakout. At first, I had to reread this because I didn't understand. I was like, oh, she's using her light fight to make everybody seem like she's getting unhipped.
So I thought she was just acting.
Mhm.
But I loved how she sort of talked Hybern's ward off of her. Like, she's like, just make it relax. Like, I'm not fighting it. I'm like jujitsuing it. I'm like, just let me, just need just a little bit. Okay.
Like she did previously.
Yeah. I love that. There was a fantasy series that I read where that was kind of like one of the gimmicks is you can like talk charms and confuse them and then disable them.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. It's like, you just like either confuse them with nonsense or logic them by asking questions of like, well, why can't you do it this thing? Is that against your rules? And then like trick it. So I like that way of like getting out of it. So it's not about power, it's about jujitsu.
That's
So
how I
really
feel
like
dealing with ChatGPT.
Yeah. Right.
How do I get around the rules?
But then once she was figured out, like, she's like, okay. And again, it's also sort of a zoo. Like, if these people want to believe that I've been glamored, essentially, into believing that I want to be resent, then let them, I'm going to lead into that. And so, because then they'll stop fighting, except obviously Lucian's like,
He sees right through it.
I'll see.
What did you think of her breaking out of her and playing the part to get them out of there?
I knew as soon as Tamlin had something to do with her sisters, bringing her sisters there, he was done.
Oh yeah, because Ianthe was the one that brought the sisters there.
Yeah. And I think that, her and Rhys, he's so far ahead in steps that they probably had a conversation before they went and was like, okay, well, if this happens, we're going to do, because it wouldn't have naturally, I don't think, happened that way per se, that she was just going to, I'm going to voodoo and you're going to realize what I'm doing. No, I think it was one of the plans that they had already made. But, as far as what different scenarios they were going to do. But yeah, I think as soon as the sisters were brought in, it was like, that's it, buddy.
No, he's done.
You're
He's done for.
Your history.
It brought up what you said earlier about how, like, I loved how it was an immediate play into it. But it also made me really sad because it was the hand in the pocket of the sliding back into it that like we tried this whole book to try to get him out of that. But we got to play it one more time for this to do it. And
in order to keep everyone alive.
It was cool and badass because they got the sisters out, or one of the sisters out. Azrael got the bloodbane out of him. Yeah, dude, Hybern actually fucked up on this. Was the one thing he like fucked up at the end. He's like, the bloodbane's out, okay. And then I love how he questioned. He's like, why are the wards down? Did anybody think about the massive light that just happened? Like, you don't think that there's any correlation to that? But it was his arrogance of it being, she broke Rhys' hand, because we all just think he's bad.
Yeah.
So then the sisters go with them, and so then they go back, I'm playing the pronoun game. The Inner Circle and Nesta and Elaine go back to the Night Court, and then Tamlin, Lucian, and Feyre go back to Spring. The first chapter of Rhys' hands was good, because it kind of goes back to what you were saying about how it's almost like a plan. I love the fact that when they go back, obviously he's not fighting it, because it's almost like it was like plan E or something, because he made her the High Lady, not just wife, not just lady, made her an equal to him. That was badass, and I love the fact that it's like, I didn't even notice that she was wearing gloves. When you go back and you listen before when they were going and what she was wearing, she says it. And of course they take it off because they think the bargain is gone.
They just take it off her left arm.
But they don't see the other one.
See the other.
And that was a really cool thing that I didn't notice at first. I was like, yeah.
Well, I told Liesl yesterday, I was really afraid Rhys wouldn't. Like, he played it so perfectly. Then saying no. And also know that removing the ward was meeting.
The bond. I mean, I think they were scared of it happening.
Yeah.
Like, he wasn't sure about it. Like, of course, Amryn says that it's possible. But, like, as I was telling Mom when we were about it yesterday, like, there's, like, that probably, I wonder if, like, Rhys had that fear of, like, wait, is that actually possible? Because the king is so powerful.
Oh, and the cauldron is their life
and
force.
the cauldron, too, So it's like, is it actually possible to break a mating bond? And so I feel like that no that he said was, like, him momentarily letting that slip of, like, no, don't you dare.
Yeah, just straight of it. So I'm glad that he was in on it.
Or
whether it was like, plan E, like they gamed it all out, or whether
he just cut
he trusted Feyre enough. Because that's the other thing I was going to say is there are times like you're in a relationship and you don't, like, you get these brain weasels, or is she leaving me? Is she changing her mind? All of these things, but you have to go back to what I trust is true. Like, I want to say no. You never really know, but like in your heart, kind of have no. And is it worth trusting? You think you know, even if you're wrong, right? Because if you don't trust, what are the consequences, right? So you have to sort of say, well, do I trust what I know or not? And that's the real decision point.
And do you trust your partner?
Yes, you like trust the mating bond.
You'd be very proud of me. I tell this to her all the time. Love, I figured out somehow from my almost 24 years. Even though I've never really been in a big relationship, is the fact that love is always going to be a risk.
Yes.
You're putting your heart out there in that same level of trust, knowing knowing full well that it goes. Like, of course, you're hoping and trusting that that's going to be how it, like, and that they won't, but you're putting your heart out there for it to break. And you gotta be, whether or not you of course you can be upset about it, but you gotta be okay with knowing that you did that. You gotta be okay with consequences of it not. So I tell it to her all the time.
Yeah, she does.
Because, yeah, you might be wrong, but if you waffle, how much better is that?
What did you think of them coming back, the whole Rhysand chapter? I just want your thoughts on the High Lady thing.
I liked it. I was like, yeah, that's what we need. I figured he would do something along those lines.
He foreshadowed it.
But I liked what he also said is that, you know, your High Lady made sacrifice for you.
And what a sacrifice. That's like sets up the next book of like, oh my God,
and
how is she going to keep playing this role?
Yeah, because Amron's like,
she is.
Go get her. You need to go get her now. And he's like, no, you know, she's made this sacrifice for us. We have to, you know, go with what she's doing.
Well, the game changed.
Well, yeah, of course. But I mean, I just like the way that he stood up for her.
Yeah, of course.
He respected her decision and her
Yeah,
sacrifice.
because he knew.
But he's also not going to be sitting around on his ass.
No. Oh, gosh.
He's like, okay, well, she's doing a huge part for us, so we're going to make sure that when she gets back,
Yeah.
We're going to war.
that we're going to war and we're going to win the war.
We're not going to be as unpaired as we did. So then last part leads into my question of what you think of next book, because your opinion matters more. We all know. But what did you think? I think my favorite part of the last chapter was not only the difference in her describing how spring was. Ooh, I'm returning. This feels wrong. But like,
That's where he locked me in.
I'm ready to fuck some shit up.
Yeah.
And it was the last turn and smile because like Lucian said, how did you break free in a very base tone? And then she's just like, oh, well, you know, I think it was just Tamlin. And then the fact that Tamlin turns around is leading her in. And then she goes, Fox smile. He's the fox, right? That was his whole first character.
Yeah.
The fact that it kind of turned it on its head and now he's getting foxed and he knows it, but he can't say anything.
Leading the fox into the coop.
Because Elaine is his mate.
So he can't say anything because he will never see her again because he knows what's going on.
He knows, like, he can tell that she has the in within her inner circle. So it's like, well, if he does want to see his mate again, then he's going to have to play along.
Yeah.
And she foxed the fox. And I like that she used it like that.
Yeah.
Because it's like,
Yeah, I don't know how she's going to do it.
So yeah, that leads into what do you think?
And the reason I'm like suspicious, I think it's going to be challenging because she is so emotional.
That's true.
I don't know how you play this three-dimensional chess
Sorry.
while being
I use
an
that
inherently
expression a lot.
emotional person.
Because now we're getting to a bad part where like what is exactly happening between the first book and the second book, we didn't really know where it was. Now we know where it's going. Hybern is coming in. That was part of Tamlin's bargain. He has allowed free passage into his land. So Hybern is coming into the land. So she has to somehow figure out shit while not, because is he going to let stuff slide? That's Tamlin's thing. Is he going to be in charge of his court or is he going to let them walk over him? My faith in him, I'm going to say not very.
You have
No, it's gone. But it's like, I think that's the question. Can she handle, or is she going to break if something like, say, if innocent people are getting tortured by their hands, is she going to say something? And Ianthe, we got to think about that. She's back home.
Fucking Ianthe.
Well, so she has a role model in Rhysand. And it's just by the means, right? Like having to like really be true to what your morals is, knowing that there are going to be sacrifices. Like how do you decide the sacrifices?
Yeah.
She can't save everybody. And has she learned that lesson that she can't save everybody? Like how does she make the best of a bad situation?
Right.
Awesome.
And live with herself. Because, I mean, she encountered that in the first book with how to kill fairies before Tamlin.
In the third task.
You know, which it wasn't an easy, it wasn't, she was like, oh, and it's just by the meat. Like, she didn't just like let it go. She's, you know, suffered that. And she's probably going to have to suffer more things like that. But with a moral compass that's not just selfish.
So ACOTAR, Court of Wings and Ruin is the next book. And I can't wait to have you
Seems like they're
guys.
going to war.
ACOTAR, yeah, very clever wordplay on her. It's like any, I know you don't have like the same, you've read any last thoughts you want us before we.
The only thing I would say that I would wonder or really be curious about in the next book is who in the hell is going to go in the cauldron after Ness?
Yeah.
Would you go in there? I mean, because
It's tainted.
you know, everybody in there, they all stopped when she came out. You got to know something's hinky.
Nesta probably like fuck something up in there.
You know what I mean? What's going on in there? And personally, I hope the queens go in there and dissolve. That's what I
Like she said.
Well, I mean, who would want to do? Would you
be the third person to
Yeah,
go
would
in?
you
Like,
go in there after her and be like, "Oh yeah, this is just going to be great"?
okay,
Well, some of those queens are so stupid.
yeah, like
it can work.
we were talking about.
Go right ahead.
We were talking about Vegas earlier. I feel like going to the cauldron is kind of like a roulette.
Yeah.
Because like
No, that's
now-
a crapshoot.
It's like, am I really gonna? Yeah, but is it too much?
Yeah, what is that's the like,
What worked?
I mean, if you ever learn anything about old dark black magic,
Are you sure it worked?
you don't know what the rules.
And everything comes at price.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But
That's
what
true.
prices?
And
Because we don't really know what Nesta or Elaine. You know they're Fae, and that's it. You don't know if they're
You don't know
Have
what
powers
you don't know
or
what's
something.
wrong with them, or if there's anything wrong with them.
Or if they lost their soul or something like that.
Yeah.
You know, you don't know that.
The only thing that it says is that Nesta came out. It's almost like Feyre describes it in her monologue as it's almost like Nesta took too much.
She came
Like
out
that she
different.
that she was fighting so hard when she was in there that somehow she took or that like she took too much while Elaine just got. I think it's also a difference of how they go. If somebody like dives in like Queen, just like yeah, I feel like it's the cauldron is
Yeah.
the cauldron is such a. It's described as the cauldron is described almost as it's their life force, but almost sentient.
Yeah.
I think it knows who is
Like
being
the sorting.
forced into it and who is
You're
being.
gonna be a fae. You're gonna melt.
Because if you think about any god or any sort of in these fantasy novels, like they don't like self-righteous people. That gave me pause because if Elaine and Nestor were forced it, maybe the cauldron had mercy on them for being forced into it, while as the queens might get the opposite effect of like diving in straight ahead without coercion.
Yeah.
Who
I
doesn't wanna
don't think
dive
I
into
would
that?
even,
Would you go in there?
even for eternal youth. I'm sorry. After Nesta
go
come
into
out,
that.
I would not go back.
Like I said, she screamed when she went in. It wasn't like it was some ice water.
Yeah.
It's like darkness.
I freak out when my bathwater gets a little brown. Like I don't want to go.
Yeah, and you got.
I wouldn't
yeah,
wanna go with her.
No.
I don't know what's been in there.
So yeah, I mean, obviously you guys are excited to read the next book, so we'll love seeing you. So again, we're gonna end it here. Thank you guys so much. This is this is our last episode of the season. Mother's Day weekend. This is gonna be great to publish, and also
And
Liesl's graduation. Yes,
Graduate.
it won't be that when we
Do
have
wave.
this.
oh, I only did a wave. There you go.
But yes, thank you so much for supporting us. It really means a lot. And please, yes, follow our Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Like always, we're going to be changing some of things up for season 3.
Yeah.
So please be on the lookout for that. And yeah, just please keep sharing with anybody who loves ACOTAR, and please let us know. But otherwise, do you have anything to say to the people before we go?
Thank you for listening to season 2.
Yeah, it's been a wild ride. We had auditions. We had interviews.
Yep.
We had all of this, which is our favorite book to go through.
Yep.
And yeah, so we'll see you guys in season 3.
Yep.
Okay. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Baby, I'm begging for your love. I said, baby, please. I want it all. Not just a piece. It is the cure.